the thearkofe podcast. My name is Noah.
And my name is Gavin.
And we're the Blanchard Brothers, back with your 2x2 retro review for the month of August.
Sneaking it in under the wire.
Yes. The summer of sexual seduction comes to a ignominious end.
A hot
Always
and
wanted
steamy
to
end?
use that.
Maybe? No?
We'll get into it.
Yeah.
A little less steam than I would like
Mm-hmm.
in the case of one of these films. And this was an even swap this time. You hadn't seen my pick. I hadn't seen yours. I think we know which one we're talking about first. We talked a little bit off mic. We tend not to do this, but we were hanging out at one of our childhood homes.
Yes.
Swimming in the pool
Yeah.
this past weekend, and I did let it slip that I think your pick for this month might be the worst movie we've ever covered in 2x2 retro reviews.
Probably.
We don't intentionally usually go for like bad.
Yeah.
So, and you were very excited to do this one.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I got to be honest, I was a little baffled.
It's in the so bad it's good category, but I hadn't sat down
I needed
and
a little bit more of that. I needed more fun.
Right.
And I also probably needed to watch just the theatrical cut. We'll get into it. We're talking Color of Night.
Yes. That was my pick. Color of
That's
Night.
the one. Yeah. That's the one that
Obvious.
we're gonna breeze by as quickly as possible, so we can get to my pick.
Yes.
We used to do a little show called The Bay of Lynch. It may come back at some point. I feel like I've literally said that 5 or 6 times. But anyways, I decided I'm just going to start throwing, I wanted to do one. It worked for this. You said erotic thriller. I said Mulholland Drive, baby.
Yeah.
To which you said, never seen it. And I was like, I thought somehow you had gotten to this one.
Nope. And
And
I
then-
watched it and I was like, this is why I
So
haven't gotten to
excited.
it.
Okay. All right. But you agree we can do Color of Night first?
Of course.
We're not going to do any preamble on this one because, to be honest, we have a mountain of stuff we've watched in
Right.
the interim because it's been, a month since we recorded?
Mm-hmm.
Been a little busy. I'll plug one thing at the top, actually.
You got an album out, right?
Yep. Dropped today to the day we're recording this. You're probably not hearing this until the day, but it's available now everywhere you listen to music. It's called Builder EP. It's an EP by me, Nark. That's a lowercase n, capital A-R-K.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's me, Noah, Nark.
Yeah, I had to listen to it last night.
Check me out on Spotify if you like ambient music, if you like stuff to relax to, stuff to meditate to, or stuff to just help you drift off to sleep.
It's a very TM-centric album, I do say. I could get into it if I had a mantra or something to think about when I'm trying to figure out stuff.
We can get you a mantra.
Yeah.
You want a mantra, dude? I can get you a mantra.
I know a guy. I can get you. I can get
So,
you a mantra in 5 minutes.
Yeah, no pressure, but if you are listening to this, if you're one of the 50 people that listens to this podcast that doesn't know about my little side project, what have you?
If you're one of the 50
My
who listen,
foray into the music world.
one of the 50 that listen, and you're looking for acts, you need to book somebody. The email is thearkofe@gmail.com. Putting the business out there, baby.
There you go.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But yeah, and you can check me out on Spotify, all the major platforms.
Apple Music.
That's where you can find my 2 proper label releases. But then
Right.
if you want to go for the real deep dive,
Yeah. The old
if you're
stuff.
hardcore,
Yeah. The deep
if you're a
cuts.
hardcore fan, you can go to SoundCloud. That's where you can hear a lot of different genres of music that I experiment with. But
Yeah.
the
What-
label stuff is just it's the ambient, the
Yeah.
chill stuff.
Yeah.
Specifically, like I'm not even allowed to use percussion.
Like
It's not allowed.
one for them, one for you.
It's more like I've done 2 for them and about 750 for me.
Albums or just songs?
Individual tracks we're up in the 700s right now. Got about 2 days worth of you could put on my iTunes archive, and it would run for 2 days without repeating a track.
Wow.
I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. Some would argue there's probably a lot of trash in there.
You never know.
Some might call some of it unlistenable.
See, when I think of that, I think of like Friends when Ross comes back to his like keyboard.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Peter, all that stuff.
I don't really have anything like that. But
Yeah.
I'll get there one
It's
of
not
these
full
days.
on like
I
Mark
haven't
Mothersbaugh.
gotten that far along.
Yeah.
Let's be real.
Yeah.
He was on some other shit. He
Yeah.
was really out there.
Yeah. So like, who are you channeling?
I'm sorry. I love Phoebe in that episode.
Yeah.
He's so good. He's a genius. He doesn't even know it.
Who are you channeling when you?
I
when
would
you make
kill
all
not
this
to be recognized in my own time.
That should just be your bio on anything.
I should rewrite it. Right
Yeah.
now. Yeah. Okay.
But seriously, who are you channeling whenever you're making music?
I mean, I don't know. Sometimes there's
You don't have like a guy that pops in your head, and you're
sometimes
just
there's like an artist or somebody I'm aiming for, like that I'm actively like trying to imitate.
Mm-hmm.
But like that's a lot of different people.
Okay.
Yeah, depending on the mood. But this one that's out, that just feels really self-indulgent. We'll get into the 2x2.
Yeah, we got to
in
ramble just a
sec.
tad bit, before we actually get into this.
Yeah,
thing.
it feels weird not having any preamble, but
This is the
if we
preamble.
get into the list,
Yeah.
of stuff, it's massive. I do need to ask real quick though. Have you seen Candyman?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Have you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I went by
figure
myself
it'll
the other night because basically, like, Veronica ended up not wanting to go, and Brendan was going to go, but then he didn't want to go, and then he was going to bring his girlfriend, and then she didn't want to go, and then he didn't want to go. I don't know. I ended up at the movie by myself.
Some
Saw
of
it
the
with a
best
crowd
times.
of about 25 people, and it was a good theatrical experience. That's all I'll say. I recommend that you see it on the big screen if you choose to do so.
I have to watch
And
the
we'll talk
original
about it
again.
afterwards. I would also recommend that you do that. Actually, it
Maybe
ties
we'll-
in very interesting ways. I mean, it is a straight up sequel.
Yeah. Well, let's I'll check it out, and then maybe that'll be like the first big thing we do for October.
Yes, no. I
'Cause
was
by
gonna
that
say,
time, more people
we'll
probably
definitely
seen it.
save that conversation for it.
Yeah.
And honestly, it'll probably either still be playing in theaters or it will be on VOD.
Yeah.
By the time we get to October.
So that works.
But yeah, I do recommend if people are curious. It's definitely, I recommend seeing it if you feel comfortable going to a theater so you can see it with a crowd.
Yeah.
But if not, yeah, like we said, it'll probably be on VOD within like 45 days or something. I don't know. But yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, we got sidetracked. And let's not go down the rabbit hole of new stuff. So,
Color of Night.
Color of Night. I guess we're
Yeah.
kicking it off. All right, I'm gonna.
Let's listen to that trailer, Noel.
Let's.
Today I'd like to focus on a most enlightening and challenging topic.
Sex.
More or less. I know what kind of a force group can become in your lives. You tell things here. Intimate things.
In the heat of passion,
Why would you be ashamed of being a shrink?
Who told you I was a shrink?
Dr. Bill Kappa is about to learn things he never knew
You're trying to play it safe, trying to see me as a case instead of as a female.
about human desires.
One of my patients was killed last night. He was stabbed in the chest 38 times.
Now he's probing their deepest secrets.
You know what kind of power people hand over to shrinks? Or maybe sometimes they hand over more than they want.
But somebody's secret will make him the next target.
Tell me about this Monday group.
There's 5 patients in the group.
Like 5 cuckoos?
No. 4 neurotics of varying degrees and 1 killer.
He's being drawn deeper
I don't really know who you are, what you do. You have all the power.
into a world he can't explain.
You've fallen into a trap.
A hunger he can't resist.
Oh, God, I'm not who you think I am.
And a danger he can't escape.
Whoever it was a maniac.
You think it could have been a woman?
You know what I think? I think it was you.
People are getting killed around here. You understand that? Run! Somebody tell me!
Color of Night.
Okay, brother. Color of Night, 1994. Directed by Richard Rush. Not familiar.
Me neither.
not familiar. I do. If you can refresh my memory, and if you have it handy, what were the other two options? Because we originally we each started with 4. We put it to a vote. There was no consensus on the first round, and then we basically just picked for our second one. But to remind people,
Body Heat, Basic Instinct.
Yes, those are definitely on the list.
Color of Night, I know I put on there.
I had Body Double,
yes.
the De Palma movie. Mulholland, which we're doing.
Yeah.
I had, obviously, Eyes Wide Shut, which we did.
Mm-hmm. And
my 4th was The Last Seduction, which would have been a first-timer for me.
Was Jade?
That's the one with Linda Fiorentino. I think you did put Jade on there. Side note, Jade kicks the shit out of Color of Night.
Oh, of course.
Just want to put that out there to begin with. This movie is trash. It's the worst thing, because the other one that came to mind was A Million Ways to Die in the West, which I had a far more enjoyable time watching than I did this movie. And I was trying to think. I was like, were there any other like outright stinkers that you gave me from season 1? And nothing really leapt to mind.
Yeah, I don't think.
This has got to be the worst, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm content to go ahead and say that.
Why this one for erotic thrillers? Why?
Okay, I'm gonna just I gotta.
Where was your head at? And then also, give me plot time. I want you to just go for a minute. I'm gonna enjoy this beer and watch you do your thing.
I just wanted us to have another full frontal male penis on screen, Noah. That is the only reason I picked this. That, and because when I was a child, I literally boiled this. I literally boiled this.
Counselor.
Your Honor, when I was a child, I literally boiled this movie down to how many times are they getting naked? How this and that. This is like, if I'm
obviously
I'm bearing my soul, Noah, so I'm just gonna get this out there. This is one of like 4 movies that I didn't own, but anytime they were on HBO or something we had, it was like, I'm jerking off of this. I have to. You know? It was like this.
I owe it to this film.
Yeah. Listen, at the time,
we stood up, we saluted that man.
At the time, I didn't know Showgirls, and I didn't know
which predates
Showgirls.
Showgirls is what?
95.
This is 94.
Oh,
Showgirls is 95.
I thought it was.
I was just wondering who got to the pool sex scene first. The water-based sex scene.
That would make sense. I guess this happens first, and Verhoeven's like, we can do better than that.
I mean,
we're not going to go underwater or anything, but like,
why Verhoeven would have even thought there was any competition from this film? That was as soon as we started getting into the meat of it, if you will, and Gavin will describe the plot in just a moment.
Yes.
But when we did start to get to the erotic, in quote, heavy quotes on this one, okay? The erotic section of this film.
Sections,
plural, excuse me.
Vignettes,
especially if you're watching the director's cut, apparently. We'll get into that. Because maybe you have different memories of it from HBO, and like maybe you were able to spot stuff. This was my first time through, but we watched the director's cut.
Right.
An ungodly runtime of 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Right. But apparently that was the one that people needed to see.
Why? We may never know.
Well, see, here's the thing. In all of the research, the little bit that I did, basically...
The little bit that you're doing right now on your phone as you scramble to IMDb.
I'm just trying to think of like... Dude, this is the same year as Pulp Fiction.
I'm aware.
That's wild.
I was going to get to that at some point and bring up how it's insane that those two performances exist.
Dude. Like he
what else did he have in 94? Hit me with it.
94, North, Nobody's Fool, Pulp Fiction. Next year?
North is like a cameo, though, right?
I don't know.
Is it the Easter Bunny?
He's a narrator.
Remember. Okay.
Yeah. But you got to think...
What does he play a bunny in? That is North.
Yeah.
He's in a bunny costume.
Yeah, but he's also the narrator.
Okay.
But you got to think, like, we love Hudson Hawk, but he's coming off Hudson Hawk, which maybe wasn't that great. The Last Boy Scout...
as far as most people are concerned, the movie's trash, but it's a classic.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Last Boy Scout, which I haven't watched all the way through in a long time. You got Death Becomes Her in 92. Striking Distance in 93, which I just love him because his name is Tom Hardy. That's his name in the movie. I guess he makes a cameo as John McClane in National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon. And then 94, I guess, is I don't know if you want to call it the rebirth or like the reboot, because you got Pulp Fiction, which is what it is for his character, but also North, Color of Night, and Nobody's Fool comes out. 95, probably my favorite year of his. Die Hard with a Vengeance, 4 Rooms, and 12 Monkeys. If I'm picking a year out of the 90s for him, that I'm like, that's it. But then there's also Fifth Element and The Jackal in 97. And of course we get to Mercury Rising, Armageddon, The Siege in 98.
We're just doing his 90s. Don't take us into the 2000s.
Yeah. And then you got The Sixth Sense in 99. The guy works, dude. I mean, people
yeah,
wonder why they see him in all this straight to DVD stuff. It's like the dude,
because he likes money.
yeah. I just love the idea that he just wanted to be a harmonica player and play blues, and he's like, I'll just do this acting thing because people think I'm all right in it, but I really would love to be Bruno, this fucking blues player. But this
Okay.
one just it's so
But, okay, excuse me. You just did it, but what is he coming directly off of?
I mean, let me see the release date. That's August 19th, 94. Striking Distance would have been it. But essentially, the Color of Night premieres 4 months after Pulp Fiction in theaters.
And Bombs.
What? Color of Night or Pulp Fiction?
Color of Night.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Meaning
$40
that
million budget, $19 million.
even,
Yeah.
even at that point, and even off the goodwill of the Pulp Fiction, because this has no connection to any kind of like 90s independent like move. Like this feels like leftover 80s trash. It
Yes.
really does. It feels like, again, this is the stuff that pushes the erotic thriller genre to the nadir that we talked about when we did Wild Things and Eyes Wide Shut last month. So, but to me, it's a runner of things like this that underperform. Jade, same thing, kind of a bomb. That one's a little more big budget, if I'm not mistaken. And I feel like this one was a big budget as well, just because of his probably asking price at this point. There's no other huge stars in it. I don't know that Bakula was pulling down like,
No.
crazy dough for this. Maybe tell people what it's about. Maybe we should do
so
that.
Bruce-
if you didn't watch it beforehand, but also if you didn't, I mean,
It's all right. You're not missing much.
really 2 hours and 20 minutes that you will not miss. And I can't even recommend that, like, oh, you should go check out these sex scenes, because
I will
Not-
give it to you
not-
this.
not
Listen,
erotic
hang
in
on.
the
If
slightest.
If you're looking for
there's nothing erotic in
no,
this.
if you're
in
looking
this
for a
thriller.
movie that has a sex scene that also has a pause for dinner, and
That
then
is one
has
of
a
the-
shower
that-
sex scene, you come to the right place.
That is one of the funniest things I've
Yes.
ever seen in a movie. I will give it that.
Yes.
That was absolutely hysterical. And I literally said, Veronica watched this with me excitedly. When I told her what the pairing was, she was like, oh, great. Possibly my favorite movie of all time. And this, like, erotic thriller I've never seen. Okay. And Bruce Willis is in it. Like, okay, I'm down. Whatever. And so she's like, okay, well, which one are we watching tonight? And I was like, well, I figured I'd go Color of Night first and then, watch Mulholland. Got the new Criterion 4K restoration. It's quite the thing to behold. Maybe if you want to give it a second shot, we'll talk about that later, but maybe I can lend it to you. You can watch it slightly differently. So we did Color of Night first, and we were just straight up bored to tears.
Yeah.
But try and entice people with what this movie's actually about.
Okay.
Please do.
So Bruce Willis is a New York psychiatrist, psychologist, shrink. He's a shrink. He's a head shrink.
But he's not a... Never mind. Continue. I'm
Yeah.
not going to interrupt.
He can't prescribe jokes. He just does therapy.
Yes.
So, after an accident with a former patient, he suddenly loses the ability to see color, the color red, essentially. And the only thing he can think to do is...
First, I'm having so many thoughts. I'm just like, well, we have to talk about that opening, and then also we have to talk about
We'll get there.
why color blind is even a
Yeah.
factor in this movie.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So
Go ahead.
the only thing he thinks to do is to take a trip out west to go see his old buddy, who I think married his ex-wife for a little bit. At one point, he was married.
I don't think that's a pertinent detail.
Yeah. Anyway,
keep going.
His buddy Scott Bakula is doing really well for himself. He says, come out, we'll see you, we'll talk, and introduces him to.
He just quantum leaped his way
Right
to the
over
top
there.
of the book selling charts.
Yep, he
He's
sure
doing
did.
really well for himself.
In fact, when Bruce Willis gets there, he makes fists with his toes so he can know, like, he's all right with the plane ride. And, his buddy's going over, hey, this is the group. I think something's kind of off with them. I'm not sure, but I'm making progress. And then out of the blue, his buddy's killed. And Bruce Willis thinks somebody in this group had something to do with it. And then breaking every fucking protocol known to man in psychology and police and criminology, they have Bruce Willis take over for Scott Bakula. And he tries to detective worm his way through begrudgingly the entire time until he meets a certain young lady.
Take over not just his practice, but his entire life.
Yes. He lives in his
home,
house.
his
He drives
domicile,
his car.
he fucks
everything.
his woman.
Yes.
Yes.
That we got a lot to unpack, Noah. Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to try and do it in a pretty concise fashion because there's no depth here.
No.
You're not going to convince me that like there's some grand themes or some thematic richness to be mined from this movie. It is garbage. It is trash.
Yes.
But it is pretty wild. Like I said, it does feel like leftover 80s. But also, the 90s, the early 90s here is a pretty wild time. Mm-hmm. Plot-wise. One thing I was very disappointed to discover. Written by Billy Ray?
Yeah.
My boy Billy Ray?
Mm-hmm.
Shattered Glass? Love Shattered Glass. Breach? Pretty solid.
You got to start somewhere, man.
I mean, I think he'd written stuff prior to this, and he definitely has some stinkers in his resume, but I want to believe that, like, some of these lines were just straight improv or, like,
I imagine
rewrites,
so.
because I'm like, not Billy Ray. No.
Well,
I don't know.
Rush did write Air America, so maybe there is some, maybe he didn't. Because this is the thing. In the research I found, they were like, it says, Bruce Willis notorious for not getting along with directors. Fucking love Richard Rush.
Probably because he let him do whatever the fuck he wanted. Probably because he didn't fight him at all. Because he was a straight up yes man.
If we're going based off Kevin Smith knowledge, he knew what lenses were what. And he was fine, with what did what. But yeah. So, yeah, opening scene.
Okay.
His patient.
Opening credits.
Yes.
She's doing crazy shit with lipstick, putting the guy, and she was on ER, right?
Yeah. She's Lucy's sister. Lucy's crazy sister that had the baby.
Lucy's sister.
Not Lucy. The doctor that was into Green.
No.
Her name is Chloe on ER. It was the one that Green loved that, like, she left.
Oh my God. The blonde,
Yeah.
right? I can't.
And came back after he died. Yeah.
And then Carter and her had a thing for a minute.
Yeah.
What the fuck was her name?
But I just
Not
knew her.
relevant to this conversation.
Not relevant, but I just know
excuse
her
me.
as that. I also know her as the plucky bartender in Roadhouse.
Yes.
That's the
okay.
main.
She's been in a bunch of things.
She's one of
Very
those
recognizable.
ladies.
But yeah, she's doing crazy shit with the lipstick. She's like she's filleting a
loaded
gun?
weapon, yes.
That's the opening credits.
Yes.
And then, yeah.
Smash cut. They're in his
therapy.
office.
You're like, okay, Bruce Willis. All right.
And
Pretty
basically,
unceremoniously and very quickly,
she starts going on. He's like, bitch, I'm fed up with you. Like, I say these things over and over, and like, you're making up half this shit. He basically breaches protocol. He oversteps, and he basically calls her out like any probably normal person would. Not something that your doctor should do if you're in a safe space. And he says, look at yourself, look in the mirror, like, do this. And she's like, I think I like the view from the window. And she fucking throws herself out the window.
And then
he goes to look, and all of a sudden he cannot see the blood. He's lost sight of the color red.
Okay, couple things. First of all, she falls for a very long time.
Yes.
From quite a height.
Yes. To the point you can
And
tell if you really
I
slow
hate
it down
to-
that it's just a dummy flying in the air, which I love.
I hate to be a stickler,
Yeah.
But I mean, they straight up show the impact and everything.
Yes.
And I'm just like, I'm sorry, but there would be nothing left.
No.
Like, she would explode, right?
Right.
From that height, like,
She would at least crumple up.
there would be nothing intact, though. You on that impact from that height, like, you would just.
She'd probably
Ugh.
get thrown back into the building first before she hit the ground. With the amount of wind, how high up she is, yeah.
That shit was wild. There's the pretty cool shot from underneath it. I will say, early on, we're seeing some crazy Dutch angles and stuff. And I'm like, all right, Richard Rush, all right.
Yeah, made a movie in 12 years, but let's do this.
I'm like, okay, maybe there's gonna be some interesting visual elements here. I can get down. But yeah, and then you can't see the color red. So, is this how being colorblind works?
Maybe?
It's like selective colors are like parts of the color spectrum?
In my limited research of colorblindness, Noah, there's varying cases. There's
So-
West Indian colorblindness that leads you to not be able to see yellows and purples. And then there's North African colorblindness that doesn't allow you to see. No, I'm fucking bullshitting you, dude. I don't know.
And I think the movie is hoping that you don't think too much about this.
Exactly.
But here, I kept brushing up against this because the movie does try and kind of carry it as a thread throughout.
Right.
But it's dumb as shit, right? Because if he just can't see the color red, right?
Right.
It probably looks like a washed out gray or an
Right.
absence of color, right?
Right.
So wouldn't you then know that, like, oh, that thing's red?
Yeah.
Right? So when there's a chase scene and the drama of it is supposed to be, oh my God, he doesn't see the car because he can't see because the car is red.
Yeah.
The car is red.
Yeah.
The goddamn car is red.
Yeah.
But I'm just sitting there the whole time going like, but if what he sees is an absence of color, if he can't see the color red and it's just
Grayed out.
it's grayed out, then don't you know that that's the color red? I don't get it. I need somebody to explain to me how color blindness works. Maybe I need to watch like a 5-minute YouTube video.
Yeah.
But I did not get how that added any like great dramatic tension other than the most like ham-fisted thing of, spoiler alert, the woman who he becomes involved with,
Right.
whose name is Rose.
Yes.
Roses are red, and he can't see what's coming from her.
Yep.
I like that clumsy detail, which I only realized today when I was like, oh yeah, her name was Rose. Oh. But how it's visually executed in the movie, one of the dumbest things I've ever seen.
Yes.
In my entire life. I don't get it. And maybe I'm dumb. Maybe I was not at this movie's level, but you seem like you were puzzled by it.
I think it just served the purpose of later on in the film where he finds another one of I guess his patients now dead. The
Yes,
cool shot
one of
of
his
like
inherited
the cool shot of like he can't realize
one
that
of
like
one of the orphaned patients that
Yes,
he picks up, you know,
exactly.
with literally no
one of the
paperwork whatsoever.
richest, one of the rich ass motherfuckers that pay Scott Bakula. I mean, let's talk about
also-
Scott Bakula's house.
Okay.
In this movie.
Let's talk about the back.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Okay, so the woman kills herself, and then he
He's
talks
having-
to his old
Basically,
presumably his mentor. I don't think
yeah.
it's like his dad or anything,
Yeah.
but his mentor. He's like, I gotta go to the West Coast. Like he's kind of freaking out a little bit. Mm-hmm. Boom! He shows up. He literally shows up and walks into Bakula's office right
Yeah.
before he's about to have a group therapy session. And I'm thinking like, I know like obviously there's no cell phones, but like he's
Right.
at his office. Like, you couldn't have just been like, hey, yeah,
Secretary, take him to the house. Or
yeah,
like,
meet me at my place. Like, this guy seems super well off, obviously.
Yeah.
With his super successful book. But yeah, you're like, you can't, like, have your buddy picked up at the airport and, like, taken to your house and, like, have him chilling by the pool. But, we'll get to that pool in a bit.
Yeah.
Anyways, so he comes in and he just, like, brings him into the group therapy session and we meet. We got Kevin J. O'Connor, who you mentioned.
Yes.
The overprivileged, rich, artsy guy.
Yes.
who you'll recognize as
Benny
from The Mummy,
Yes.
and the imposter brother from There Will Be Blood.
What about Joe? Is he Joey from Deep Rising?
Yes.
Yes.
I don't know the character's name, but yes,
Yeah.
he is in Deep Rising and
Yeah.
fairly memorable. Which is also a Summers movie, right? That predates The Mummy.
Yes.
That's right. But yeah, let's be real. He would like you to remember him from There Will Be Blood. That's the most prestigious thing on his. But he's been
Yes.
in a ton of shit.
Oh, yeah.
I
He's
like
another
Kevin-
one of those guys.
I like Kevin J. O'Connor, so I was like, okay, I'm down with him.
Mm-hmm.
We got Brad Dourif, who, watch him in anything.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Lance Henriksen,
Yes.
same. Who also is in, dude, him and Scott Glenn, dude. There's sometimes when I'm just like, are they the same guy? Like, do they?
They've never been in a
Are
movie
they
together, have they?
Yeah, I'm like,
No.
are they the same person? And they just kind of shapeshift.
Prosthetics?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just one dude.
Yeah.
Do we know that it's not? They're not just one person.
I mean, I've never seen them in a movie together, so I can't say.
I swear to God, there's sometimes where it's like I'll be watching Scott Glenn in something, and at certain angles, I'm like, oh, it's Lance Henriksen, and then it's the same thing, vice versa, dude. I swear.
What
But
if we
in
had
this-
a whole Mandela effect where, like, it was actually Scott Glenn and Pumpkinhead the entire time, and we didn't know it?
It is
You're-
Scott Glenn.
What?
I want to put that in your head. Yeah.
What?
But it is Scott Glenn. You don't see Scott Glenn when you watch that movie?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Leslie Ann Warren,
Yes.
who I guess most people like recently would know from Daredevil, if anything.
Who is she in Daredevil?
She was Esther Falb. I don't know. I think that's season 3. I don't know if I ever finished season.
Esther Falb. What is she?
Anyway, she was Scarlet in the Clue movie,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and she's in Victor Victoria. I mean, she's been around.
Another one of
forever.
those ladies,
She's
yeah.
been in a ton of shit. She's still working to this day. She was just in Echo Boomers with Michael Shannon and some other people. Anyways, is that everybody from the therapy? Oh,
Then you got
and
Richie.
How could I forget? My God, who immediately I'm just like, okay, so what's the fucking deal here?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know
Again,
if it's
as a
I don't know if
child,
it's
I didn't think
well, I'm
twice.
like, and I'm also sitting there going like, okay, is it the transfer? I was like, or is this going to be some like really problematic, like trying to approach transgender issues in this like erotic thriller? Like, where are we going with this character? Very perplexed by it initially. And then about what, like, it takes a full, at least in the director's cut, it's like a half hour before Bakula gets iced, right?
Right,
Spoilers.
yeah.
I don't know why I keep saying that. But when does Rose bump into Bruce Willis?
Like, literally the day after.
The day after. That's what I thought.
Yeah. He's driving, trying to be
literally
like,
as
I am
soon
not.
as she showed up, I was like, okay. I was like, do I remember this movie? Because, again, I knew I'd never seen it.
Uh-huh.
But I had listened to How Did This Get Made on it.
Yes.
Literally like 6-7 years ago. Like, I was still working for Pier 1
Right.
in Charleston. I just remember listening to that episode while I was like stocking stuff. I have the memory of it. So yeah, about 7 years ago. And I was like trying to piece together the plot as I was watching it, but like I never got ahead of it. I never remembered the twist, but I knew where
There
we
was
were
something,
headed,
yeah.
essentially. I knew there was something up with that character, and it's so telegraphed. Mm-hmm. She won't give him his phone number. Like, she shows up at weird fucking times constantly. And then, I mean, they reveal it to you pretty early, or like earlier than you would think they would, probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no,
So,
it gets
let's-
it gets further interrupted because not only do you have Richie, then you have Rose show up, then you have a third person show up that's clearly her speaking in her own accent with
Leslie Ann Warren's
Leslie
character.
Ann Warren's character.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're like, okay,
But
you
yeah, that's
immediately
her friend Bonnie.
Bonnie. Yeah.
It's
And
everybody's friend,
yeah.
Bonnie.
So Bakula bites it pretty hard, which genuinely a little creepy.
Before he bites it, we get the setup of his place. He's got all this security. He's just made a ton of money. And it's like, well, why do you have all this security? It's like, I've been getting threats. Like, you know, people know I have a lot of money. I've got some enemies from the therapy world, etc. You're like, okay,
I think it's somebody in
Somebody
my
in
group.
group.
I gotta figure out who it is.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so he's in his office like the night after they have a bike race where they're like trying to one up each other, like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I was thinking more like 20
Yeah.
miles or whatever. And then you like the way it's staged, it's like you guys look like you just like went around the block.
Yeah.
Like you went through a little dirt trail by his house and then like cycled back. But anyways, not here to get into a pissing contest with Bakula and Willis, especially not in the 90s.
No.
But so yeah, shortly after that, he's in his office and gets murdered by what I thought was very clearly setting up a female killer.
Yes.
Just the way they show the hands, it was like I think they're trying to deliberately mislead you to try and like tack on an extra twist in this movie that this movie does not need.
Yeah.
The movie doesn't need a lot of things, but so yeah, Bakula gets very like pretty violently fucked up. I don't know if this was something that was like ramped up in the director's cut, or if it was all like sexual related or whatever. But
I remember it
is-
being like about the same.
And to me, this is post Basic Instinct, right?
Yeah.
When is Basic Instinct? 92?
93? I can't remember.
92. You're correct. I mean, kind of the gold standard for your 90s erotic thrillers, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
Everything else is kind of just like whiffing its fumes.
Essentially.
And I mean, Fatal Attraction, obviously. But that's 80s.
Yeah, that predates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the turn into these more like crazy ones. Like Body Heat and stuff is like, it's like a noir. It's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
crime,
Body Heat's
it's a
more noir,
crime thing, but it's not.
The female-centric
there's no, like,
sexual
horror, like
the female-centric sexual thriller. I believe Glenn Close, of all people, started it off.
Yes.
She's the grandmother, granddad, whatever you want to call it, of that genre.
Sharon Stone perfected it.
She picks it up, perfects it, gives you the blueprint for it, and everybody since has just been trying to get back to that thing. But it is interesting because in this movie, they set up that like. At least to me, the entire time, they're trying to throw you as like, oh, it's Rose. Like, it's all Rose. Like, it's all her.
Right.
You know, she's moved into these people's lives. They don't really throw it to you. By the time they tell you, like, oh, yeah, by the way, this was Scott Bakula's piece as well. You know, the sheer fact that he didn't meet her before Scott Bakula died, which you could argue, you know, spoiler alert, being Richie, if there's any semblance of like what's going on, but no, okay, I can't go over and see him now because like his buddy's here. I'll have to wait. But right after Bakula's death, we're introduced to my favorite character in the whole movie, which is fucking Hector, Ruben Blades. I think he is killing it in this movie.
Thing that,
I
like,
fucking
makes
love
this
it.
movie even somewhat watchable and like kept me at least somewhat engaged. Anytime he was on screen, I was like, yes, more of this, please.
I like to think had the Predator not come to Los Angeles in 92, that like this is who he would become. But I don't know.
I'm gonna have to admit something.
What?
That I was just a total like ignorant idiot about. I had no idea he was like, you know, a legend in the Latin jazz like music scene and all of that. I had no idea. I only know him as an actor, and then I like literally went and listened to some of his music, and I was like, what the fuck?
I know,
I had
right?
no idea.
Yeah.
And also, is it Ruben Blades or is it Ruben Blades?
I would say Blades. I mean, people say Blades, but I mean,
I have said Blades since I was a little kid because, like, Once Upon a Time in Mexico. What else is he in?
Predator 2.
Predator 2, which we loved.
Is he in Blood In, Blood Out?
I feel like every Latino actor
Stand and
of
Deliver?
a certain age was in there. I don't think he's in Stand and Deliver. I think that's just Lou Diamond and Edward James.
Yeah.
I don't think Ruben's in there.
But again, he is like the best part of the movie.
Some Tony Scott shit. I don't know. I just feel like he was in a bunch of shit that I liked when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So he totally plays, and you need somebody with some sort of energy, even if it's not like the best comic relief ever. But it plays. What are you looking at?
I was just looking at like his.
So he comes in as the investigator, which again, Bruce Willis doesn't seem like super concerned about the fact that Bakula's dead. Kind of just like moves into his life. The cops don't seem like super concerned about finding this person to the point where they just like put him.
You do it. You do.
Yeah, they're just like, yeah.
You tell me what's what.
Do
and
our
I'll-
work
and I'll
for
do
us,
it.
essentially.
Yeah.
It's a little strange. So then we get a multiple group therapy scenes over the course of the movie, which
Right.
supposedly are like a week apart. So like it's kind of crazy if you stop and think about the amount of time this thing takes place over.
Right.
Pretty ridiculous. But where do you want to go? Because it's honestly it's a lot of just like Bruce Willis
Hanging out.
kind of bumbling around,
Oh, I'll give it to
vaguely investigating things.
Let's start here. The biggest thing I hate about this movie.
Okay.
Fucking Bruce Willis. One, but like fucking Bruce Willis talking about Rose as she's like walking in. Here she does
my
this.
God.
Like, are you reading the fucking script right now? Like, what are you doing?
Here she comes. Like
She floats on angels' wings.
can't-
What the fuck are you doing, man?
she can't, dude. That is
One,
some of the
she can't hear
weirdest
you.
Stuff. Yes.
Two,
she cannot hear you.
I
This is
can
like
hear
ju-
you. What the fuck? Like, and okay, so what is it? She runs into the back of him. They agree to exchange stuff, and probably like one of the worst ADR lines is like she's like she basically asks him like, why won't you give me your info or something like that? And it's like, you could lie or what. I'm like, what? What is this? What are you about to play me? What are you about to show me, dude? Oh my god. Oh my god. Noah, what the fuck? Is that yeah? Yeah. It's just
That is all Veronica and I could think of was the Tim and Eric sketch. Here she comes with Weird Al Yankovic escorting the old ladies down the aisle. We just every time he did, like when he did it the first time, we were like, "That is fucking weird. Like that is not cool. Like that's so strange."
Yeah.
And then when he does it the second, it becomes like a runner that he keeps doing every time she shows up. Every time she floats onto the property,
Yeah.
where you're like, dude, okay, you do get that, like, she definitely was banging Scott Bakula, because, like, how else would she be able to get in here so easily? Like,
Right. You've never taken her
you're
back.
not thinking clearly,
Right,
dude.
You are hypnotized
dick
by
blind
that
right
ass
now.
and like them titties. Like you are, yeah,
You're getting boners on the street, outside of restaurants.
Yeah.
Can't even keep it together.
yeah. And just think about it, man. Last week, some bitch threw herself out of your office window, and now you're here getting getting felt up on the street corners, making out with strangers. You're living your best life, Kappa. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So,
yeah. So, I think it's that there's a bunch of sex scenes in the middle of this. Probably my favorite being like Ruben Blades has come to talk to him, and it's like, okay, well, whatever. He sees her, like he sees this chick, okay,
Right.
and apparently he's been investigating everybody in the group,
Right.
And the fact that his dumb ass doesn't come back like, hey, you know, Richie and Rose, 2 R's, they kind of look alike. Maybe there's something. The fact that he doesn't know, oh yeah, Richie had a sister as well as a brother. He's the ward of the state up now.
right.
Okay. The fact that he can't find that out in the time it takes for Bruce Willis to boggles my mind. But then again, the cops don't care. It's just another shrink in L.A. that's just
Right.
Oh, his own
Happens all the
his
time.
own cuckoo bird, like you know, whatever. Like
His own wombat.
Yeah.
He calls people
Well,
wombats
yeah.
like multiple times.
Yeah. So
There's a lot of improv happening.
again, the scene where she comes over, he's outside, Hector's leaving, and she just like is naked and they're in the pool fucking. It's like holy shit. Like I read where
It's not.
I read where it was they like the MPA had a problem with like how close her face got to his dick underwater, and Richard Rush was like, "You don't have a problem when his face is close to her, but you got a problem when her face is close to his dick. I'm leaving it in." So like he got his under X rating and apparently just left it in. There's tons of lore behind the whole thing. First, Jane March is like, I didn't really care for the sex scenes and nudity. Then everybody's like, on set, she was fine with it. Who knows? There's the tragic backstory that she married somebody on the set of this movie.
His assistant or something, right?
Right. And like Bruce Willis was the... like, how does that work, dude? Like, you're watching Bruce Willis rail this woman or, like, pretend to rail this woman, and you're like, I gotta marry that. And you do, and then you proceed to be like, I think this guy's thinking, oh, she's fucking hot, and this movie's gonna pop, and she's gonna be the next Sharon Stone. I gotta get in on the ground level, because apparently the reason why she didn't work a lot was the fact that in order to cast her, you had to hire her husband as a producer. And people were like, no fucking thanks.
It was one of those
situations. Like a weird power play. And I mean, I think she pops up in what, like Tarzan, the Tarzan movie with Casper Van Dien. She plays Jane. Pun intended. And like a couple other things recently, but she still does whatever. I don't know. I haven't seen her anything lately. It is what it is. But there's just a lot of her.
I mean, she's not terrible in this.
No.
She's not great either,
Right.
but she's not.
Like, I wouldn't know she's playing somebody with mental illness who has 3 personalities. But like now that I know she does, I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's really not even a performance thing across the board, because like, I think Lance Henriksen's good in the movie. I think Brad Dourif is. I think everybody like in group, Leslie Ann Warren's good. Like, I think everybody in the group is like, it's well acted. I just don't. I think the screenplay is like dog shit, and it's like, it's so disjointed and has all these like disparate elements.
You know what it feels like?
I just don't know.
It feels like people who talk to you about like transgender stuff, psychological stuff now, it's like they saw this movie and that's where they have like their understanding of shit.
Or Silence of the Lambs or something.
Yeah,
like that.
and it's like this is one of those you could throw into like movie psychobabble mumble jumble that you hear and you take as fact that no one has actually talked about, because like they go into the whole thing of Richie being like, I'm not gay, I don't want to be gay, I'm this, and it's like, well, he's like having an identity crisis. And it's like when you find out like, oh no, this kid was abused,
right?
Supposedly, it's not even the same
where
kid.
Also, like it. Okay, back to the sex scene for a second.
Yeah.
Which is to say that, like, it's so weird that, like, when you do get the full backstory and everything, and Bruce Willis is made aware of it, like, he's still, like, oh, yeah, but I want to bang that chick.
I like her.
And I need her to, like, be the personality I know, because, like, she can't be Richie or, like, whatever. This won't work. But the idea that he's not, like, oh shit, like this, she's got a lot of issues, I need to, like...
Oh, he is, but he's like, I can do that, and I can fuck her too.
I know, it's just so fucked up. It's like, but you're a doc. Don't you get, like... I thought the whole first part of the movie was like, you made a huge mistake with a patient, and...
Who he wasn't fucking. That's the problem. He wasn't fucking her. If he'd have been fucking her, she wouldn't have jumped out the window.
I guess that's the lesson.
That's
he learned,
the lesson.
But that's the.
If you're Bruce Willis's patient,
anyways,
if he doesn't fuck you, you will kill yourself. It's that simple. That we've solved it. That's what the movie's all about.
Back to the sex scene. I guess I was like, okay, the inventiveness of the water based sex scene.
Yeah.
Okay. But then it just goes on. Goes on. They have the we want to call it Chekhov's glass thingy.
Oh yeah,
that they play with multiple times, and you're kind of like, he's gonna fuck her in front of that.
Yep,
he's definitely gonna do that.
Yep, the minute Bakula picked it up, or he picked up the show back, I was like, yep, I remember. Okay,
yep, okay,
that'll be in a sex scene later. I remember that was there.
Yep. But you brought it up, dude. Yeah, they take a break. She makes a full meal.
Yes.
A steak, if I'm not mistaken.
Uh-huh.
Prepares it, puts it down, serves it, and I think she's like completely naked, or she has like an apron on.
And he asked her to slide the plate to the left.
Yes. So he can see her breasts better.
No, her fucking vag, man, because she's naked underneath.
But she's not. The positioning of that plate. Never mind.
The plate, it's a glass table,
Oh, it's
so
a
he can
glass
see through it.
Oh,
Yeah, he can see through glass,
not-
even though he's colorblind. Yeah, and then they go
'Cause
back
he's
to fucking.
unbreakable.
He is unbreakable.
He's not Mr. Glass.
No, he is a Mr. Glass.
Right.
He's unbreakable. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He wants to be able to view
Maybe-
that because it's within striking distance. Sorry. I had to. Okay, I'm sorry. The point is, they take a break to eat and then they go back to fuck. Like, he wakes up twice without her in bed.
But no,
No,
they don't.
she's-
eat,
no, no, no.
though.
No,
she
she
puts
says-
down the food in front of
No,
him.
she
and-
says, I want to get dressed up. I want to get dressed up. He's like, what? After, like, when she's, like, he's fucking her from behind and she's pushed up against the headboard, she tells him she wants to get dressed up.
Yeah.
She gets dressed up, whatever.
She
was-
likes costumes and playing
Yeah.
different characters. Hello, foreshadowing. She's
Yeah.
multiple personalities. Okay.
Out of right field, my ass. It's right there down Main Street. If you can't, you're such a great fucking psychologist. How can you not see this?
He's dick blind. I'm telling you,
He's
dude.
dick
He's
blind.
dick blind.
Yeah.
Sorry. But no, the important detail there, at least we watched the same cut. We watched the same
Yeah.
rental. He doesn't eat anything.
No.
She makes this whole meal, sits it down in front of him, and then he's like, nah, yeah, we gotta fuck some more.
Yeah,
they
in the
don't
shower.
they break for her to make a meal for him that they do not eat.
Right.
Because they're so into each other.
Because
But
this
that
isn't
is-
9.5 weeks.
that
They're
is
not going to do any
the
food play.
funniest. Yeah, no food play in this
Yeah.
movie. That's too classy. That's some Adrian Lyne shit.
And the
Get that
thing
outta
I
here.
love is, like, they obviously were in the
Yeah, it
pool.
says Color of Night. I don't know why, but I feel like Richard Rush probably talks like this.
I don't know. I guess that it's like they were in the pool.
I'm Richard Rush.
They were in the pool.
Dick Rush.
They fucked. They stopped because she wanted to get dressed up, and then they have to shower off because the next scene
Also,
is they're
I'm
in the
sorry.
shower.
I'm so sorry, but I'm like, this just would not be acceptable by today's standards.
No.
No, I'm not talking about the sex. I'm talking about his tan line, dude.
Yes.
You're not allowed to do this in a movie
No.
anymore. You can't just like show up for unless it's a comedy. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? But like here, it's just like, oh yeah, he can have a horrible like. It literally goes from like glistening like bronzed god up top to like me basically.
Yeah.
By the time you get down to his ass, and it's just like, dude, no, you can't do that.
No.
In movies today, you've got to be perfectly evenly tanned, and if you're not, they will CG that shit for you.
Right.
But I was just like, and of course, the whole draw of this movie was just like Bruce Willis in all his glory, and it's like, I mean, he's in pretty decent shape, but dude, you couldn't like. They had tanning beds. It's the 90s, bro.
You have a private lawn
It's
with a
like-
pool.
it's
You
the
could
90s.
tan naked outside.
You're gonna
They're
show
s-
your dick in this.
They're
thing,
sitting
dude.
outside naked later on.
Put the effort in, bro.
Dude.
Like, come on.
Jesus, man.
That feels like an ego play in and of itself. Just like, fuck. I'm
Bruce
Bruce.
Willis.
I don't need to. This is what I look like.
Yeah.
Tan up top, pasty down below.
Yeah.
The ladies love it like this.
I've got the everyman look. I'm John McClane.
Yeah.
You think John McClane's got tan lines like this?
That's the other thing I kind of wanted to bring up in the midst of all this is like, when did he lose like the? Because that's why he also feels weird in this movie, because like, it's not an everyman character.
No.
At all. And not that was even totally his MO. But when you think about like what John McClane started as, yeah, that's what everybody kind of always talks about as the draw is like, you know, action movies used to be these big buff dudes, and then all of a sudden it was like a normal guy, just like a fucking cop, just like going through it, like actually doing the rough stuff, and like, you know, he did some crazy shit, but it was within reason, pretty
Right.
believable, and you know, etc.
Grounded in reality. Yeah.
When did he like completely abandon any semblance of like I'm the everyman type dude? Because I feel like it was pretty early, but I feel like at this point he has fully like he's, you know.
I don't know. Do you want to?
I mean, you defended the Death Wish remake, which I didn't even see, but
I mean,
I feel like that's an attempt at like doing more grounded or
if
like
you're
what
talking
people would
straight
maybe
action,
want
dude,
from
like
him.
it's definitely when they jump over that bridge in Die Hard 3. The bridge.
Yeah.
It's because who survives that? That's the craziest they get. You do that to slam into this thing, and you are still walking around.
And I wasn't even talking about the John McClane character.
No, I'm saying, but
I'm
to
just
me,
saying-
that's it.
Okay.
That's where it starts, because that's the next year, okay, which I believe was already shot before this came out. Or maybe it was in the... I don't know.
Also, I think we've talked about this before, but it's the best 3 ever in a franchise, right?
Right. Yes, of course.
There's no other 3 that tops it. That even remotely comes to mind. With a Vengeance is like as good, if not better than the original.
Yes.
And is like far and away better than 2, which is a really good movie.
Yeah.
Even with all of its flaws. But yeah, I'm almost glad I didn't see this one when I was younger. Mm-hmm. And it is weird too that like I definitely was aware of it. I knew there was a Bruce Willis movie that was similar to like a Michael Douglas movie.
No, this is
Like-
the Bruce Willis movie where he shows his penis. That's it. That's what this movie boils down to. This is what's on his resume.
That's the only
if he had
curio
to,
aspect
if
of it
no,
at this point,
if he
for
had
sure.
to, if he had
That's
to
the
go
only
on
reason
an-
anybody really picks it up.
if he had to go on an audition again, and he had to put on his resume, willing to show dick. This is the movie that you put on to prove that he's willing to show his dick on camera. It's perfectly fine. I'm all for it. There should be total like more frontal.
There wasn't enough of it
No,
even in this director's cut.
no, it wasn't. There wasn't enough of it there.
It was not as promised.
I mean, definitely Kevin Bacon's picking up the slack in
Yeah.
Wild Things.
And Bacon's is like, at a glance, but it's still more than this movie,
Right.
which is centered around it. You know what I'm saying?
Bruce, you just get just the tip with Bruce. That's it.
Yeah.
But for all we know, that's the only time it's ever flaccid, because the rest of the time it's just rock hard. Again, he's getting boners in public. He's fucking her left and right. It's crazy.
If you're not giving me Harvey Keitel and the piano and or Bad Lieutenant, you're not doing your job. That's all I'm saying.
All right.
If you're gonna go there, go there.
Right.
If you're gonna center your whole campaign around like, hey, you want to see this guy's dick in a movie? Then let him show his dick.
I mean, not to mention
Let's
things.
not beat around the bush.
Yeah,
let
Richard.
him show his dick.
Yeah, Richard.
Come on, Dick.
Not to
Dick
be-
Rush.
Listen, not to be jumping
Dick
back on,
Break is more
but
like it. Dick.
I'm
What's
just gonna,
the opposite of Rush?
Let's just put this out there. We both have seen it. Fucking Steve Zahn showed his penis, no problem.
He showed his balls. He didn't show his
He
penis.
had his dick in his hand, dude. Come on.
But you didn't really see it. It was his
You
balls.
you get enough to know what's what. Okay, I appreciate him for bringing the full frontal nudity back into play. I'm all for
Murray
it.
Bartlett. Have you finished?
What?
Have you finished it?
What?
White Lotus.
Of course, yeah.
Okay. And I was gonna say, and for
Yeah, him
and
too.
Murray Bartlett for
Yeah.
taking a shit on camera. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure that, or if not, it was the most convincing fake shit I've ever seen.
Yeah.
That was something else.
Yeah, that's a gamble because you never know what you're gonna get.
I'm sure we'll talk more about that show when we get to our year-end TV
Of
wrap
course.
up.
So let me wrap this up because then we can get to the real reason we're here.
Yeah, please.
Essentially, you find out that Richie is dead. Richie is not. Richie has died. He committed suicide a long time ago because
And Dale
Dale, his brother, who still wanted to have the memory of his little brother Richie around,
made
his sister Rose become Richie to go into group, and then Richie got busted because obviously you fragmented your sister's mind. Richie gets busted, has to go to therapy. While Richie's in therapy, again, we haven't talked about Dale. Dale, the entire time of this movie, is like, my brother doesn't need therapy. Get him out. Get him out. Get him out. And it just gets weirder and weirder that you're like, what's going on with this? And Bruce Willis is discovering that, a little too late, you might add. Maybe if this woman hadn't shut the door in his face when he came to visit her, half of his patients wouldn't have died, But she says,
Are you gonna put it on her?
I'm going to put it on her.
right.
Yeah. It's a failure of the system.
I figure we could lay it at the feet of Ruben Blades for not doing his fucking job.
Yeah, no, I mean,
dude.
at the end of the day, what's
just
Hector doing?
completely slacking
Hector's
off.
fucking having birthday parties with cops hanging their asses off of helicopters, Noah. That's what Hector's
God,
doing.
yeah, that whole
That was
Veronica was
wild.
like, "What was that?" I was like, "That was an excuse to literally like."
Show this fine woman's, nice ass. She was supposedly a cop.
I was like, I think you see more than. I think you see
There's-
more than you think you see
Yeah,
there. Like, holy shit!
That
And
was
I'm
to
like,
mend race relations with the LAPD, Noah.
That was also when I was like, this is on another level where it's almost like a dick measuring competition with other erotic thrillers where it's like, we're gonna fly a chopper in to add more nudity. Look at us,
Yeah.
Dick Rush, Dick Rush, Choppers.
Take names. Take my name down. Take notice.
Dick Rush.
Yeah, Dick Rush.
At your service.
Yeah. And so essentially, the big crescendo is that we find out that Hector
had a backstory. That's my biggest thing. This movie is 2 hours and 20 minutes longer than the director's cut, and it still manages to not like give any depth to any of these people in the group. I'm like, is that what the movie is about, or is it about Bruce Willis? Like, what is the focus? What are we doing here?
Apparently, the theatrical cut was worse. There was so much stuff that was cut down. People did it
was even more incoherent.
No,
because
people
the director's cut is borderline incoherent.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Basically Richard Rush was like, my version of it will win out. Like, it will be the better one. People will like it. And the producer he fought with was like,
Andrew Vajna.
Yeah, it's like, hey, it's going to be theatrical cut. And when
Vajna?
Vajna. Allegedly, when they got like reactions from the director's cut, critically, people enjoyed it more than the theatrical cut they got. And so,
but compared to what is my question? Because I can't imagine a shorter movie or a shorter version being any more satisfying narratively. So I get that.
Yeah.
But I'm like, but this is not good.
No, not by any means.
But definitely, probably, if you saw like an even worse version of this, you'd be like, oh, marginal improvement, and then I guess maybe you then think it's good. I wonder if that's old Dick Rush being quoted about the critical reappraisal, because I hear nobody saying like, oh, the director's cut of Color of Night. Like, it's not one of those movies where it's like, oh, but if you only saw the director's cut, you'd get it.
And so
most recent example of that, sorry, never mind. We don't need to go down a side.
I was going to say, like, basically you find out that, like, it's been Dale, his brother, the entire time killing these people off.
Yes,
anybody that gets too close.
Which was the slight, like, twist for me where I was like, I knew obviously that Rose was these multiple characters. Right. I had already picked up on that.
Yeah. They had the reveal scene where everybody's like, oh my God, that's my Bonnie.
But of course, the reveal that, like, she actually didn't do any of the murders.
No.
It was all Dale. I was like, oh, okay, but that just feels like... But
that's just a way for him to be with her at the end.
But when they had him continue to reoccur throughout the movie as well, where I was like, well, that's really the only outside plot removed from this that, like, they are trying to keep as a thread in your brain, right. Where I was like, okay, well, he's clearly got to be involved. So it's like, yeah, but it wasn't like a satisfying reveal in any way, shape, or form. I don't think it's particularly well acted on her part, the, like, transition between characters at all.
But it ultimately ends with him killing.
Where of course you expect this movie to end, which is on a fucking sky, like the top spire of a skyscraper in what looks like the end of like Ghostbusters or something. Like what
it was the top of the art gallery funnel kiln thing that the brother was working in. But it serves the purpose because he gets his color back. He can see red again. He's fine. And she's alive.
Still don't quite understand how that works either. Color blindness just fixes itself, I guess.
Hector's, nailed gun to a...
and they ADR some shit to let you know he's still alive.
Yeah.
And give him the last lines of the movie.
Mm-hmm. And they pull out and smash, stop, jump, cut, and
they
you're done.
Definitely pull out.
Yeah.
They do that.
Oh, no, he didn't. Not at all.
Oh, okay.
She's straight up pregnant. Like, the sequel is... Imagine if nothing happens and, like, a month later, Richie's all of a sudden pregnant somehow. And you're like, wait a minute. That's how he found out. Wait a minute.
Color of Night, 1994. I stand by it. Even in talking about it, this was a bit of a struggle.
Yeah.
The worst movie I think we've covered. On this entire network.
Maybe. But listen, at least I know that this was probably the worst thing I could ask you to watch.
And
I don't know what you had me
modicum of fun with it.
Right.
I will say that.
But I don't know what you had me watch. Okay, so
are you ready?
Let's take a walk down Mulholland Drive. Are we doing a trailer? What are we doing here?
I do have a trailer.
Okay, let's do a trailer because I want to hear how this was pitched before we get into what I saw.
I don't know if I'm even familiar with this trailer that I pulled, so we'll find out together. Here's the trailer for Mulholland Drive.
I can't believe it. I'm just so excited to be here. I'm in this dream place.
This one comes highly recommended.
Dream place. What are you doing?
Get out of the car.
Yeah.
The girl is still missing.
What's wrong? I just don't know who I am. I wonder where you were going. Mulholland Drive. Come on, it'll be just like in the movies. We'll pretend to be someone else.
This is all an illusion.
You want to know who you are, don't you?
Where's this going?
Mulholland Drive.
It's been a very strange day.
Getting stranger.
So I'm sure you found that trailer super helpful, and now you totally get the movie, right?
Listen,
No, not so much.
I don't have your DVD because I forgot to take it out of the PlayStation 2. I tried to follow the little 10 points to unlock this thriller that's on the inside of the DVD.
Oh, I forgot that's on there. Yeah.
No fucking idea.
Oh, it's just him having fun with you. We can
I'm
pull
sure.
him up and go.
Halfway,
do you want to use that as the framework
fuck
for this
no,
episode?
because I realized halfway through it, this motherfucker's jerking me off. None of this matters. This fucking
Was he
none of this
jerking you
matters.
off, or was he jerking you around?
Maybe he was jerking me around. I was jerking me off.
Okay.
To a couple scenes. Like, none of this matters. It's all fucking illusion. That's it. That's it. None of what I see, what I saw was real or mattered. It was all an illusion. It was already recorded. It wasn't real. Okay? It was just, yeah. I don't know, man.
Okay.
Like,
you sound very frustrated.
I am, dude.
We thought you were gonna love this. Veronica and I were like, oh, he's gonna come in, he's gonna he's gonna give me that eyes wide shut energy, and he's gonna have a whole take and everything.
Look, I never.
By the way, I listened back. I don't mean to toot our own horns, and I'm not even tooting mine. I think that is some of your best work. No bullshit.
What?
On Wild Things and on Eyes Wide Shut, but particularly Eyes Wide Shut. I feel like that is one of the best conversations we've had about a movie in a very long time.
Yeah, that's because I got to do research. You told me not to do it for this. You wanted a caveman assessment of Gab.
But I
haven't.
If you were literally speaking from like YouTube videos and stuff, I didn't know it. It felt
I listened to what people were talking.
Your own shit.
Yeah, I digest. I did what everybody learns in English class.
I did specifically ask you not to do that with this movie.
But I don't know if it fucking helped at all.
Probably not.
I just listen, and this is the one thing I'll have to say.
One thing, and then we're done.
No, well,
okay,
no.
Cool.
Listen,
Shortest 2x2
yeah.
in the history.
Listen, I appreciate people who have vision and want to tell a story. But on some level, at certain times, I'm like, you gotta fucking quit jerking me off here, man. Like, I'm relying on you to tell me something. And if you're blurring the lines and you're throwing weird shit out there left and right, and I don't know what you're doing, at some point I'm just like, I don't fucking know, and I never will, and there's no point in me even talking about it. Nothing is real, reality is irrelevant. Everything is we're all cogs in the machine. It's all an illusion.
No,
simulation. Yeah,
there is no band.
There is no spoon. There is no man behind the winkies. Like there's no. I just. Okay. You know what this feels like? This feels it feels like he was still pissed off that they wouldn't let him do the last season of Twin Peaks right there in the 90s. He went off and made, the TV movie to just have us ask more fucking questions about Twin Peaks. And he was like, haha. And then he ran into Lost Highway and made that. And he was like, this is me being me.
Fire Walk With Me was not a TV movie.
whatever it was.
It was theatrical released,
Fine.
and it's
Yeah.
like hardcore R-rated. That's the whole
Yeah.
like jump to. That's how you get to the return.
Regardless, it just like they want answers. I'll have them ask more questions, and then that's that. Okay, all right, and then
I don't think he's as
that'll be the whole fucking joke with this guy. The entire time he's been playing you, and you did know it, but you didn't think you knew it, but you really did know it the whole time, and you should have known it and said something about it to him. And he even still would have been like, make up what you want. Just do it, but what do you think? It's like, no, you have to tell me. You're the director. You wrote this. I get that this is, you had a fever dream or you did a lot of TM one day and you came up with something, but then all of a sudden, it's like, if you're going to give me this, like, if you can give me this and you could do this, I haven't ever heard, and I don't think I ever will, but if I ever hear any complaints about not winning big time awards, this is why. This is why you got the Cannes Film Festival award and panned for an Oscar. You got an honor. Like, has he won an Oscar?
I think he got an honorary.
Honorary.
He was nominated for this movie, though.
Of course he was. And you know why he didn't win? Because nobody knows what the fuck they watch, Noah. No one.
I will admit from the get-go, I'm putting you at a little bit of a disadvantage because, and you may have no desire to do this, this is a movie that I imagine is very hard to take in on a first viewing. But
Yes.
you do kind of have to let it wash over you. I am so curious for you to, I mean, I've seen it a ton. We could sit here and, like, we could go about this so many different ways, but I don't know if you said you had some notes. I don't know how you want to approach it, but
I took a shit ton. I forgot to bring them. I was trying to follow the little 10-point guide thing.
Well, but I kind of want you to, like, we'll walk through it kind of semi-chronologically, and you
let me ask you
talk
this.
with me about how you're feeling as the movie progressed.
He has never said anything about this movie.
How do you mean?
He's never given any answers to any of the questions people ask about what it means, what it's about. He's just been like, you figure it out, right?
Essentially, yes.
Okay. Then what are we doing here?
What are we doing?
We don't have an answer. We don't know what to do.
Dude.
Is this one of your joy as a cinema things?
You've watched all of Twin Peaks.
Yes.
The original series.
Yes.
All of season 2, even the stuff he didn't direct, even the stuff where it went off the rails.
Yeah.
You've seen every episode.
Mm-hmm.
And you've watched The Return.
Right.
And you loved it, right?
I loved it.
That's why I'm so baffled. I thought you were gonna come to this and just like
you gotta understand. Okay.
Dive in and be like, oh, this is it. This is a masterpiece of cinema. This is one of the greatest movies ever made.
Listen,
depending on which way the wind blows, I'll just say this right now. This, and every time I watch it, it goes further and further out. Depending on which way the wind blows, if I'm going my like populist heart brain, it's Almost Famous. That's my favorite movie.
Right.
But if I'm going like my cinema brain, like the shit that just like lights me on fire and like I can go back to over and over again and get something new out of every time, it's Mulholland Drive. That would be like my second favorite movie of all time, if not my first. Like I said, depending on which way the wind is blowing. I absolutely adore this movie. And again, I feel like you at least need to see it one or two more times.
Oh no, that's why I kept the DVD.
But anyways, I bring up all of that, and your relation to like The Return. You saw how he handled the expectations of what that series was going to be.
Right. Over what, 15, 16 hours?
18 hours.
18 hours.
Over 18 hours where, I mean, again, spoilers for Twin Peaks: The Return. If you haven't watched it, please do yourself a favor. It's my favorite piece of art that exists on this planet.
A lot of pleasing people who wanted something, who he knew. He probably, maybe he knew, maybe he didn't know. He probably saw when the numbers got to Netflix, how many people went back and found it, discovered it. And when they finally let him do it, he did what he wanted to do. He got a big network in the 90s to let him do some crazy shit no one had seen before. And that I love. And he convinced them to give him 2 seasons of that. And that core story of an outsider coming into this weird town, that it's the town. It's not just it's something's up with this town. I love it. You know, And there's like 4 stories at their core that I love and I will ride or die for any day. Stranger coming into town, something's wrong with the town. A bunch of people in one place, they got to survive from whatever thing's outside. A bunch of people who don't know who they are, how they get there. They got to work together, whatever it is. And then basically the everyman hero story of like the hero does this thing and he either leaves or dies. Those 4, that's every story to me, breaking it all down. And I love Twin Peaks and the second season, even the shit that goes off the rails. And then waiting all that time to watch the return, I didn't care what it was. I had new Twin Peaks. And I knew it was his thing and what he wanted to do over 18 hours. Every other movie I've watched of his, I get it from watching it.
Okay.
I understand it. I see what's going on. I have no fucking idea what's going on with Mulholland Drive.
But what other ones have you seen? Because we never, like...
Razorhead, Elephant Man, Dune.
Did you watch Blue Velvet ever? We
Long
never made it
time
that
ago.
far in the...
I haven't watched it. I watched Blue Velvet before I was a film student person, so I need to watch it again. But still, I'm pretty sure that... a little bit of Lost Highway I watched,
Wild at Heart? No?
Yeah.
Okay.
Long time ago.
Okay.
So, but I understand where we're going here.
Okay.
I don't know what this is based off of. I don't know if this is like a...
Let me take you back real quick. You're asking... Sorry. You said... If he's not going to give us any answers, then what the fuck are we doing here, essentially? What's the point?
Right.
And fundamentally, I'm like, I can't believe... I mean, you're at least somewhat well-versed with him at this point. How you can even ask a question like that. But I want to take you back to season 2. After they reveal who killed Laura Palmer. Right. And I won't spoil that for anybody who's never finished the series.
It's obviously Bob.
Yeah, clearly.
Yeah.
Okay. So, after that moment, I feel like you go one of 2 ways. People either think it's trash and it should have ended right there, or people actually kind of love how bizarre and weird it gets there for a little bit. And even though most of that is not even related to Lynch, it gets at the core of something that the show was always intended to be about, which is he never wanted to give an answer to who killed Laura Palmer, because it wasn't about that. It was about all of these other mysteries,
right?
And the what it reveals, what this one event reveals about everybody in this town, and the seedy underbelly and web that it
right
that we start to see.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but he never wanted to reveal this is who did it.
Mm-hmm.
It would have gone on and on and on, except they forced him into revealing it. And Mark Frost kind of talked him into it as well, where he's like, network really wants us to do it, like they don't know if we can string this along for too much further, blah blah blah. So they do it, and then everybody stops watching as soon as they have an answer. Right Okay. He's never been about giving the answer, man. It's the puzzling over it that's the joy of it.
To him.
And it's either your vibe or it's not, but that's the...
Okay, every other thing else is great. This one, not my vibe. Not my cup of tea.
I'm just shocked because there's so much between this and Peaks, dude.
Then tell me what it is. What am I missing?
Okay, first of all...
obviously the soundtrack.
Angelo Badalamenti.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with that.
Of course, they're soulmates.
Yeah.
Okay. This was originally conceived, and the original concept for it was pitched in the 90s.
Uh-huh.
As a spinoff of Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
Starring Audrey Horne, Sherilyn Fenn.
Okay.
She leaves Twin Peaks, goes to California to become an actress. Okay?
And that's what happened to her. I saw it in the third one. She made it. She's in that house. She made it. Yeah.
She made it.
Yeah. She became a big actress and she just locked up in her mansion house in LA, right? That's what the end of 3. That's what happened to her in season 3, right?
She's in some...
we
don't know what was going on with Audrey. We don't know where that was left.
And that's perfectly fine with me.
We'll have to find out.
Because it's all about imagining. That's all that matters.
Okay. Anyways. That was the original setup. So there was DNA there.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And there are thematically, there's a lot of things that connect.
Yes.
And there are even some characters from Twin Peaks that show up in this movie who you may or may not have seen.
Didn't see.
Okay. We'll get there, but...
Honestly, dude, this is... You want my gut reaction, this is what it is. Now, you let me go watch it again. You let me read a little bit about it. Let me maybe try to understand some stuff. Maybe I get my own point of view, and I unlock the secrets for you, and we figure this bad boy out in a couple episodes.
I'm not opposed to that, but let's attempt to talk through a few things. Okay, we open with a jitterbug scene.
Yes.
What are you thinking at this point?
I'm thinking that at some point this has got to come back into play. He wouldn't just put this here for no fucking reason.
Well, but it's not there for no reason.
Why is it there?
That's how she came to LA. She won a jitterbug contest.
That is right. I did hear that. I did write
LA.
that down. Yeah.
This is the opening of the movie. This is his way of showing you her backstory, essentially, but just not in a conventional narrative way.
And
in an abstract
and she's
Gap
not dancing in it.
Esque way.
And she's not dancing in the commercial.
No, you don't see her dancing. You see her winning, though. And it's like superimposed over the.
Okay,
the
that all right. So I'm taking all right.
And you see her.
Okay.
You see her.
The bright light. She's accepting. She gets the thing. Yeah. Okay.
You see her grandparents.
Yes.
With her. Yeah. Very creepy individuals. You see them.
And those aren't the two that were on the plane with her.
No, they are.
Then why does she talk to them like she doesn't know them?
What?
The people that she comes out of the airport with two older people.
Yeah.
That's her grandma. Does she call her grandma?
I assume, I've always assumed that, but okay, again, irrelevant, whatever. Before we get to any of that, we have the jitterbug sequence, and then we're on Mulholland Drive. Again, right. We never see I love that we never see the title Mulholland Drive. We just see the street sign itself. That is the title of the movie. You never see it like written out in the credits. And we get our opening credit sequence. We got the limo. You get maybe some I Know What You Did Last Summer vibes here.
No, I'm getting like a really creepy. Someone's going up to the overlook, the hotel.
Yeah.
It just sounds like, I'm not saying it's not a problem that's recycled. It just sounds like a score I heard where like somebody was they're going up to the One-Eyed Jacks. Like somebody's going to One-Eyed Jacks. That's what it sounds like to me. It's what it feels like. Exactly.
It's Angelo Badalamenti. It's all in the same sonic
Of course,
universe.
yeah. No, that's what I'm feeling. That's what I'm getting. And I'm getting a little hard on it at this point. No, I'm telling you, because I'm like, I'm in it. This is what we missed.
You got cars driving at night. You got headlights on a road.
Yeah.
You're happy.
Yeah.
If you're watching a Lynch product,
yeah.
You're pretty happy right now. Yes.
Yeah.
The gorgeous Laura Elena Herring.
Yes.
I don't know if you'd ever seen anything before.
No, never.
Don't really have anything else to point you to outside of one other David Lynch project, but backseat of the limo.
Mm-hmm.
And then
she's about to get killed
by the limo drivers. Yeah.
Right.
You're like, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah, you don't know what's what, and then there's an accident.
There's the drunk kids that wreck into them. Yes. Okay.
Who I'm assuming they all died.
Yes.
And everybody else died but her. And she stumbles down the hills of Hollywood.
She does.
Yes.
She ends up at an apartment complex.
Right. Sneaks her way inside, goes to sleep.
Yes.
Right.
And we see, very briefly, Mr. Robert Forster, the late great.
Bruh. Like, are you telling me that Bob Forster from that point is supposed to be the Bob Forster that I see in Twin Peaks Season 3? Like, he retires from that job and moves up to Seattle and starts taking over as sheriff there. Is that what you're telling me right now? Because he's only in the movie for 1 minute, and I wrote down Bob Forster, cop, fuck yeah, and then I never saw him again. I was so upset.
Yeah, he does have one other deleted scene that was filmed but not used.
What?
It's on the Criterion Blu-ray. Yeah. But he is credited under a different name, so it wouldn't work for the Truman angle.
Okay.
But you could think that if you want to.
I would like to.
Yeah.
For some reason, he has to get out of LA and change his name.
We do know that, tulpas and doppelgangers are at play in this universe, right?
Don't even get me started on people from Twin Peaks.
Okay. But also in that brief scene with him is great character actor Brent Briscoe, who was also in The Return.
Yeah, I remember him from that.
Yeah, he was investigating the body of that ended up being Major Briggs. Spoiler alert.
Yes.
For season 3.
In case you're wondering where Major Briggs went in season 2 of Twin Peaks from 1990, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So, brief scene with them. They're like, maybe somebody's missing from this.
Yeah.
From all of this. So you're like, oh, the police are going to be looking for it, right?
Right.
Not really a factor for the
Don't
rest
really
of the
seem to
movie.
care.
And never see Robert Forster again.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yes.
And that is part of why he was in The Return, and also why he said he took it without even hesitating, is because he was like, yeah, sorry, I have to fill you in because I specifically made
You're
you
the
do some research."
source.
So the spinoff never happens in the Twin Peaks era.
Right.
It was meant to go basically after season 2, but it never happened.
Mm-hmm.
So late night post Lost Highway, he's kicking around the idea again, and he pitches ABC, who had Peaks before, on a pilot called Mulholland Drive, and he gets to go shoot it, and he goes and shoots it, and there's debate over this, and he would never tell you one way or the other, but the general consensus is he knew this was never going to be a series. He shot a movie, essentially, a short film, about an hour worth of movie.
Mm-hmm.
That could also double as, it could be a pilot if they really wanted to take it, or whatever. But essentially, he got the money, but whatever, he cut the deal in the midst of this, where he retained the rights to all the footage. So basically, he knew they wouldn't pick it up, because presumably he included some of the content of the movie that you saw.
Right.
And knew that ABC Network was never going to show this on television. So then they hand it back to him after they pass on it. And he's very popular in Europe. And there's a French distributor, that's Studio Canal Plus now.
Mm-hmm.
Probably seen them attached to other stuff. And he had a friend in the French art world that was like, oh, David, I think we can get you together with some people who would help you get funds to basically make it into a feature.
Mm-hmm.
So they had already, they had shot basically an hour worth of content for about $7 million, and then they got another, or maybe $5 million, and then they get another $7 million from Studio Canal to turn it into a feature. And he says at the time he had no ideas for where to take the story. So,
and the story was about what?
The story was presumably the first chunk of what you see, which is Betty, new, bright-eyed, fresh-faced, coming out to L.A. to visit her aunt and wants to become a star, wants to get into acting, and, what's going to happen to her? Is it going to be the classic Hollywood story of turns into a nightmare?
Because
or
I read,
is it gonna be a huge success story?
My big overall take, I read this, is he thinks the town of Hollywood is complete garbage, and the streets are littered with the bones of people who've never made it, and you should never go.
Oh yeah, and the way, we'll get into this, but through the Adam Kesher, the Justin Theroux character, and the whole movie that's being made within the movie, and the way you see the studio system and studio executives portrayed, it's a very
fuck you,
very
Hollywood.
acid-tongued thing towards Hollywood.
Of
and the
course.
idea that he did it at least partially with half of the budget coming from the mouse is pretty fucking impressive to me.
I do want to mention one more thing real quick. Color of Night, a Buena Vista release. Technically, that's a Disney movie.
That is a Disney movie.
Yeah, Color of Night, Disney movie.
So is Pulp Fiction, if you want to get right down to it. Yeah.
And not an acquired thing. It was a thing at the time that it was a Disney movie. That's what I love. Anyway, yeah, okay. And that I get. So I have to ask a question. Time is not relevant in this movie? I don't need to think of time as a linear thing that I'm watching?
I definitely don't think it's important that you do, but what do you brush up against time-wise? Just curious.
the
We
big
can go wherever, dude. I assume people have seen this
the
movie if
big
they're listening to this
the big
episode.
thing of like she was brand new, and then like they were lovers, and then all of a sudden she's with Thoreau, and she wants to have her killed.
Mm-hmm.
But the opening is wanting to have her killed. So it's so time doesn't matter.
The opening is wanting to have her killed.
Yeah.
Right. Because the movie's a loop.
Right. It's a loop.
Yeah.
So time doesn't matter.
I mean, it
when I
matters
see
in as-
when I see things is not when I see things. It's like like Dunkirk.
Okay.
You're seeing things at different times, at different points. Yeah.
He would tell you, and I would still encourage you, you take from this whatever the fuck you want to. But I can give you, like, if you want the this is what it is kind of thing, I can attempt to do that for you.
Please.
Not that the flip that you see
with the key, the blue key,
Pandora's box being open, essentially. Everything you see from that point afterwards, that is reality. Everything you've seen up until that point is a dream. But it's all a dream. Because
it's all recorded.
Because it's David Lynch.
It's already been recorded.
There are a lot, again, huge the gloves are off. Yeah. Whatever. We're an hour and 30 minutes on this episode.
Okay, so that makes sense. Okay.
So the real story here is Diane, young starlet, comes to Hollywood.
Right.
Meets a fellow female actress. They fall in love. They're probably both going out for a lot of the same parts.
Right.
Okay. One starts to surpass the other in terms of success. They have this romance together. She thinks it's beautiful or whatever. But
the other one says we should stop.
I got to do this for my career. Maybe. Again, I'm putting none of this is explicit. I'm just giving you a way to.
Hey, I'm taking it as the gospel, brother.
A way to look
I get
at
it.
Okay.
No, I get it. If that's the switch, then yeah, everything that comes after that.
She falls in with the director. She's the favorite now, etc. Their relationship sours. Mm-hmm. They're gonna get married. She can't take it. She's a jealous lover. She decides to have her killed. Okay?
So
she's having this like guilt-ridden fever dream, if you will, where she imagines the good version of what could have happened to her.
Right.
She comes here, she's a huge success. She makes all the right connections. And who is Rita in this case, in the dream or whatever? Who is she in this incarnation? Well, she's an amnesiac who doesn't know who she is, and she's completely dependent on her. She has all the power in the relationship.
Exactly. Yeah, no.
But he just presented it to you in a little bit of a different way.
And that's perfectly fine. If there had been a thing on that thing that says the blue box might hold the key to dreams and the blue box, is it a dream or is it actually reality? I would have figured that out, because I get that, like, everything after that, if I'm told, I can take everything before that and be like, this is real, and this shit I'm seeing at the end is a dream. Doesn't matter.
That to me is the
yeah,
kind of
I
one
get
of the
it. That's the
brilliant
beauty
things,
of the
though,
fucking
is
thing now.
You would sit there and normally, and the way I watched it for the first several times was, oh, and then Pandora's box gets open and shit gets really weird. But what you never stop to think about is like,
what if Pandora's box was already opened?
Yes,
and this is closing it back.
Yeah, what you're really doing is like, no, you need to almost watch the movie in reverse chronological order but it doesn't play the same because it has like a completely different emotional trajectory, because you're still seeing the narrative in straightforward fashion, in as much as she arrives there, she's fresh-faced, she has this like great steamy relationship with her, and then it starts to get darker and it sours as it gets to the midpoint it's beautifully structured and it's brilliant. It's at first glance though, it feels very off-putting, and that's why most people will approach it and why it's still totally valid to be like, it's a dream. It's dream logic. We move from one scene however we want to.
Well, the big
And
thing
there's-
that threw me is when they go into that lady's house.
Yes.
And
Diane Selwyn's house.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they find her dead.
Yes.
But she doesn't look like either one of them to me. Looks like a completely different woman.
Right.
And it is?
Who knows?
Fuck. Because
why is Coco, the woman who runs the hotel, why is she the runner of the hotel and then also Thoreau's mom? Why is Cookie the hotel manager in a shady part of town and the presenter at Club Silencio? Like,
you know who Cookie is? We've discussed this, right?
He's
the skull.
The man apart, right?
The skull.
A man apart, right?
And a man apart. But he's the skull. That's the first thing I thought of. I was like, badass, man.
The skull?
The guy who shoots Tony Montana in the back?
Oh, excuse me. Yeah.
The skull.
He's got the glasses.
He's just always standing there with fucking sunshades on? Yeah. I was... You know who else I was happy to see? Mateo from Anaconda. For the 2 seconds he was there until he got shot in the face. Like, goddamn. That was actually...
Dude, tell me you didn't love that sequence.
That was probably the one I was just like...
Comedy.
Yes.
Pure genius
and I was
comedy,
like, this doesn't...
Escalating
This
beats.
doesn't even matter. You can not even have this scene, but it's there. That I appreciated. And I loved it. It was great. It sets you up to tell you exactly who this dude is. And, okay, who the fuck is the cowboy? Wait a minute, no, that would have been in the dream part, so that doesn't matter. It's all irrelevant.
It all matters.
No, it
man.
doesn't. No.
Don't be like that.
No, it does. No, I'm saying it doesn't matter to me to try and parse it out and figure out what it actually means.
Right.
I mean, obviously,
I was just giving you a structural way to,
and that's
to
perfect.
look at it.
Yeah, and if you
all of the other elements, here's where we get into your Twin Peaks: The Return territory. Your firemen versus Judy or Jaude. Your good and evil entities. Your people who move between these liminal spaces. Places like the Black Lodge, which I would make a case to you here that Club Silencio is one such place. This kind of...
Are you kidding me? Of course. It looks just like it.
Exactly.
Fucking stage red? Yeah,
exactly.
of course.
This kind of in-between place where these different entities gather, and we know we have the evil entities. What do they like to feed on? Garmonbozia, pain and suffering.
Yes.
Cream corn, right?
Right.
Old people eat a lot of cream corn. I'm just
Supposedly.
saying, okay? Who's going through a lot of pain and suffering by the end of this? Diane.
Right.
Or Betty, or whoever,
Right.
Naomi Watts.
Yeah.
Who, we got to talk about performances in a bit, but...
Bro, the fucking acting scene...
We got to talk about that audition.
Please tell me she did not. She like got nominated for everything.
I mean, she won a bunch of awards from like little tiny outlets, but she did not get the actress nomination.
I'm sorry, dude.
But
this
movie. She was literally, she's about to quit Hollywood. She had like terrible experiences, just like rejection after rejection. She tells this story. Literally, watch her tell it, and it's in the trivia as well. But she says she literally was like driving on Mulholland Drive and like, oh, I almost feel like I should like, take this thing off a cliff right now. And later that day she gets called that, her agent tells her like, you have a meeting with David Lynch. And she goes in and meets with him, and like within 5-10 minutes of meeting him, just like his whole demeanor and everything, she was like, I've never felt like so seen and heard, and like he was actually like engaging with me. It wasn't just like he wanted to talk to me. It wasn't like, here's an audition or here's something to read. It was just he wanted to meet me as a person or whatever. Anyways, ends up getting the role, does the TV pilot that they filmed in 99, doesn't know if it's going to go, doesn't know that it's going to turn into a movie or whatever, and is debating just like, oh God, I just got to fucking give it up. And apparently, good friend Nicole Kidman, fellow Australian, talks her into staying for just a few more months. Then they end up getting the funding. They finish the movie. The movie comes out critically, and in some circles, like, she at least gets a huge bump. And what does she do the next year?
The Ring.
The Ring, which sets her up to be a movie star for forever, basically.
Yeah.
Like she has enough name recognition from that point forward to like she can work forever. Like,
yeah.
But yeah, this is like
listen,
her first like thing where people were like, "Who the fuck is that?"
No,
yes.
that sequence of her doing the acting, it is like it's that, and it's everything Leo was doing as an actor in Once Upon a Time in Mexico. Whether it's freaking out on himself,
Hollywood, but yeah,
like that, or like the TV they shot is it? That's not Lancer, is it? Lancer's the TV show. Yeah. Is it Lancer? Is it real life? That's like everything on board with that. Like just having watched her do it with.
That's what's so genius about it. The setup of her and Rita rehearsing it, and the way she plays it,
and she just jokes about it like it's nothing, and then like she goes and turns it on. I'm like, that is like boom.
This is like calibration of performance, and also something I feel like you get more and more out of when you go back to it. Like when it first starts, and she's so broad and so wide-eyed, and they're like, good luck I guess it is just a random couple that she meets. But they're like, good luck, Betty. And she's like, okay, Irene. Like, it's very broad. And you're like,
if they're her grandparents, they're her dad's grandparents that she doesn't know. And she calls them by their first name. Just saying. No,
I think it's some people she met, like you said.
But are those but didn't you say
because they take their own cab.
And they leave.
Yeah.
But like.
And they look, there's that lingering shot of them in the limo, dude. It's so fucking creepy. But
yeah. It makes you believe that like anybody that gets a limo is going to get killed in Los Angeles.
Well, yeah, and they echo the same shot as the opening you just saw, like where they pan up through the drivers, like through the partition, and you're like, what? And then of course we move away from that scene. You're like, what the fuck?
But you never see him again, so you're like, what the fuck?
Well, until the very end of the movie,
right?
Yeah,
because
I was going to make the case that perhaps they are some entities that like to feed on pain and suffering. That's why they come after her at the end when she's at her absolute lowest point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because she's asked to have her former love killed.
But it didn't go right. That's why this is an infinite loop. It's like a Donnie Darko sort of situation where you can ask me, well, why, if this, then why not this? But it doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying?
But it would leave her in a position
it's clean.
Right, but it leaves her but it leaves her in a position that like if at that point the opening of the movie where the hit on her ex-lover goes wrong.
Right.
That like anything's possible towards the end of this. She could come back, not know who she is, and the fantasy she's just lived out of, like the fever dream fantasy where she's completely dependent, that could happen. And it would explain why every time Justin Theroux has looked at her / the other actress lady, they're like, wait a minute. Because for the longest time, I thought Camilla Rhodes. Yeah, I thought that was her.
Right.
It's like, it's not fleshed out to me that Camilla Rhodes is another person. I thought the woman who I was watching that was in Amnesia, I thought that was Camilla Rhodes until you actually see her singing, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Right.
So
and that Camilla Rhodes is the one that what we assume are crime figures of some kind, presumably like mob. When Dan Hedaya shows up, he's like, "This is the girl. This is the girl."
Yeah.
And dude, that whole boardroom scene, like, come on, dude.
Yeah.
Angelo Badalamenti doing the espresso.
Yeah.
And then spitting it back up. It's just. Or you like, that's where I was like, those are the bits that like you would really only appreciate having watched Twin Peaks, where you see like his brand of comedy, which I figured you would enjoy. Like that, I hope you were dying at that shit.
Of course.
Where Justin Theroux is just like, what is going on here? And you're like, dude, I don't know.
I fucking love that he comes home and finds his wife in bed with fucking Billy Ray Cyrus of all fucking people.
I knew you were gonna lose your shit.
And I love that like the next scene is literally the big guy from Angels in the Outfield being like, Adam Kusher.
One of the biggest laughs ever is when she hops on his back, then he comes in, hey buddy, and boom, like he decks Billy Ray Cyrus immediately. And he just punches her off of his back, fixes his suit, and then continues exploring the house and says, Adam Kusher. The delivery, the pacing of all of that is hysterical.
Yes.
It is so funny. And again, that's the beauty of Lynch. There is so much comedy in the first, especially in the first chunk of this. Now, it takes, there's very little levity in the last like hour of this movie.
No,
but it's genuine. Like those are huge laughs, and that's why we go back to this like all the time. And some of the just sheer weirdness early on, like when you see those boardroom scenes, and all of a sudden we cut away to Michael J. Anderson, the the evolution of the arm sitting in the chair and all of that.
Nope, we're not talking about him.
Okay.
If he had made his voice in like he is in Twin Peaks, right. I'd have shut the movie off right there. Done. Gotcha. But I love that it's like that's who's running Hollywood.
Yeah.
That's it. It's like,
some dude in a two-way mirrored room. Like I love his guard in the background with the stash who just standing there.
Yeah.
Motionlessly.
Yeah. Shut it down.
Yeah.
Shut it all down.
Shut it all down.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I love that Justin Theroux's like, I'm going to fucking put paint on all of her goddamn jewelry.
I love that.
Like, that's the
his
only thing.
Reaction.
The only thing he does.
Yes.
Because we all know,
immediately gets decked out.
Because we all know in real life, we've all seen The Leftovers. Justin Theroux would wipe the floor with Billy Ray Cyrus.
Oh, 100%.
Any fucking day of the week. He would take that horse all down Old Town Road, riding all over his face. Yes. And that's one of the things I was like, I got into this and I was like, there's so many people in here I know and I like. Why didn't I watch this yet? Is this something to do with what? And I was like, okay. And then I never put two and two together. And I'm watching it. And maybe I just shouldn't have read the 10 things to be looking out for. Maybe I should just sit back and just watch it happen. Because honestly, I was like, oh, he said don't look at anything. He didn't say I couldn't use the cutout in here. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to get him. I'm going to get him on the first try. I'm going to read all these things. I'm going to get this thriller. I'm going to understand it. And instead, I was like, what the fuck did I just watch? But I get it now. It's on the loop. It's just Pandora's box in a loop. Like, it's very simple, and I understand it.
It's the same. Dude, like, when I watched Lost Highway for the first time, I was like, oh, it's this, like, how could I ever wrap my brain around it? And then it's like, you watch it 3 or 4 times, and you're like, oh, I get it. He just doesn't tell stories like anybody else. That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's still, and he relies way more on mood and ambiance and visual storytelling than outright dialogue or just like constantly holding your hand the whole time. And that's part of what I love about him. That's like increasingly.
That's why I think when he comes into The Return and he's like explaining it to you, Agent Philip Jeffries, who isn't alive anymore, or like is somehow still alive, whatever. Like how loud Gordon is giving you this exposition, I think is hilarious.
Yeah,
and it works completely.
Yeah,
I gotta watch The Return again.
You really should.
Yeah,
we're about to do Firewalk after we finish Mulholland. We were like, yeah, I kind of want to do Firewalk with me again, and then she has never made it all the way through Inland Empire, which is in a lot of ways, even though I'm harping on like the Twin Peaks connections here, but Lost Highway, Mulholland, and Inland Empire, even though they were kind of like years apart, are very much kind of like a little mini trilogy almost about Los Angeles. Inland Empire being the darkest and most inapproachable, I would say. I would say it's his least approachable movie in his entire filmography, and that's Laura Dern and Justin Theroux.
I'll probably love it,
dude. It's fucking great.
I'll probably love
Udo
it.
Kier's in that shit. Grace Zabriskie, Laura Palmer's mom, like tons of cameos from all sorts of people in his orbit. And it's weird as fuck. It's also 3 hours long, and it's shot on DV.
That's what I remember about it.
Some creepy shit with digital video. Yeah, maybe I'll keep that one in my back pocket for another time. But
okay, I feel better now.
So Theroux goes to a shithole motel where he's apparently holes up every once in a while because he clearly knows Cookie, and he gets a call from his assistant that he needs to go meet the cowboy.
Yeah.
Oh, Jason said I should go meet the cowboy. Should I bring my 6-shooter, my 10-gallon hat? I mean, what'd you think of the scene with the cowboy dude? This is one of mine and Veronica's favorite moments in the entire movie. She will often say to me, "Now, if you do good, you see me one more time. If you do bad, you see me 2 more times." I think I flipped it, or maybe I did it wrong.
No, it's right. If you see him, because he's going to come back and tell you fucked up, and then he's going to come back and kill you. But if you see him one more time, he's just going to tell you, "Hey, great job."
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what to make of it at all.
Man's life goes some ways sometimes. Would you agree? Apparently, could not remember any of his lines. And Justin Theroux literally, like, that guy's not an actor. His name's Monty Montgomery. He's just a friend of David Lynch's. And could not remember any of his lines. Justin Theroux literally had to, like, hold them on his chest and shit to, like, help with the scene at different points. And it's one, you hear that story or whatever, and I'm like, I would have never known, because it just seems like the most pitch perfect performance for, like, he still got exactly what he wanted from that guy, that energy.
Yeah, because he heard that guy say a sentence one way at a party one time and was like,
"Yep,
that's it. That's where it came from.
That's my guy.
It doesn't matter. That's where it came from." He'll never tell you otherwise, so that's what happened.
So, I guess we should get back to Betty and Rita. But, again, she finds her in her aunt's apartment, takes it doesn't scream, doesn't freak out or anything when she finds her naked in the shower. It's just kind of like, "Oh, I'm sorry, my bad." Like, that in and of itself is almost kind of unsettling, because you're like, in any other movie, there would have been the big scream as the reaction, but no, we just pan over and we see the, like, naked silhouette of her in the shower. It's almost more like, whoa, because it's not played as a big moment,
but we know, but we know she's in there already.
We do, but I'm just talking about literally that shot. And the way he shoots some of these interiors and echo. Shit, dude, we gotta talk about Winkies.
No, we don't.
We gotta talk about Winkies. It's like the 3rd scene in the movie. We just completely breezed right over it.
We're good.
Is that, in isolation, not one of the most, A, perfect, but B, deeply unsettling scenes you've ever seen, but specifically scenes in broad fucking daylight?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a scarier sequence of events in broad daylight in a movie, other than, like, Michael Myers at the laundry in the original or something, or like By the Hedge?
I mean,
a daytime scare that is as bone chilling as the Winky sequence.
I'm gonna say yes, but you can't tell because they're in the Arctic and he didn't leave his lights on when he left. That would be
okay. Yeah, the thing.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, it could be day. Who knows? Sure. Yeah, yeah. No, that is the equivalent of like. That's the equivalent of like. I'm just thinking of episode enders or something of like. What's her face looking up from the hospital bed and seeing Bob just like like laughing. Whatever he does with the audio and just it's
so much about the sound.
It's unfucking settling.
There's another like new sound mix on the Criterion Blu-ray, and like Veronica and I had it cranked on the soundboard, and it's so evident. And like that, everything about how he shoots that sequence, the dialogue between the two of them, the moment when it's like he's describing the dream and he's like, "You're standing right over there," and then they show you the shot of him looking over his shoulder, and he's not there. And then building to the moment of like, but now he is there. Now the only difference is in the dream you said the light was different. But now he's in the same position. And Badalamenti's score just slowly creeps in. Mm-hmm. And it's just this like deafening like ambient texture or whatever. And it just feels like doom. You're just like, what?
You don't have to walk back there, my friend.
Exactly.
No one's forcing you to.
Everything from the moment he gets up from that booth, the pacing of walking back there, the angle of that, like, we know there's a corner there. We really don't want to see what's behind it.
No.
We don't want him to keep walking.
No.
But he is, and it's like, this is not the first time we use POV, but like, there's a lot of POV in this movie.
Yeah.
And it's so unsettling, and you're getting this like ambient textural swirl of like whatever, and just like doom building. And then when you finally see what is behind there, the pace at which it moves out is like not like anything you'd expect in a movie. The actual visual itself is not like anything you expect, but again, the sound drops out immediately as Patrick, oh my god, Fischler, I think his name is Patrick Fischler.
The guy who's walking?
Yes.
Yeah.
The guy who's describing the dream,
Yeah.
the one who's freaked out about it and everything. When he collapses, when he faints, the sound like drops out with him.
Yeah.
And it's such a like interesting choice, and it's that much more powerful because you've had this like crazy swirl of sound mix building up to it, that when he does drop it out, it's like that. It's the inverse of like a
Shrill, a scream, all that.
It's the inverse of like a Carpenter scare, where it's a stinger, where you like the music drives up for the scare.
Yeah.
This is like
He's
the sound
he's
drives
actively,
up and then pulls out.
Yeah, no, he's
for the scare.
actively
It's
fucking
just-
with your brain
yeah.
to make it remember and like last and be more jarring, because it's like every ounce, every micro bit on a cellular level of your body is expecting a shrill, a scream, a musical note. Even before this, we were already predetermined to know this from the 80s and 90s horror movies. And even now we're programmed for that, even worse with music cues. It's just taking that away from you. And so when the time you're like expecting to, you're on edge because you're waiting for that to come, and it never does. And what you're forced to do then is watch and see. And really, it's just a homeless person that's kind of haven't showered. But he's already told you he never wants to see that face again. We want to unpack that. Why? Maybe at one point that dude was a fucking starving artist, and he knows that one wrong move, he's going to be that guy behind Winkies with the fucked up face who's homeless.
It's also very soot covered, right?
Right. Yeah.
What's that remind you of?
Got a light.
Yeah, of the woodsman, the lodgeman, which are also in which Jurgen Prochnow plays in Fire Walk with Me. Like,
right.
You know.
So maybe so he is an interdimensional being that feeds on.
You see him. He's the one who picks up Pandora's box and puts it back into the bag at the end. And he's the one who lets the two little entities of Irene and whatever the other old guy's name is, like, out of the bag essentially, and they end up crawling under Diane's door, popping up to real life size, and then and the way they're coming at her is so much like Bob when he would like chase you around, where it's just like he's
a weird stop motion, but not really stop motion.
Yeah, and just the constant laughter and like just super unsettling. But these are the connections where I'm like, you know, there's you can bring all this other sort of stuff into it. Is it, you know, is it just these entities trying to feed her? Is one of them trying to take her over? Is the switch we see that, like, really Betty's been taken over by something, and that's how she morphs into Diane? Or she's being primed to be taken over, much like Laura Palmer was, for instance, and instead dies in the process, or in this case, spoiler alert for the very end of the movie, kills herself.
Right.
Which is telegraphed in the opening, which you're so, like, probably disoriented by what's going on, you don't even notice, but, like, right after the jitterbug sequence, we're into a POV shot, and it's in her bedroom that you'll eventually see, and she's just kind of like moving slowly across, and then you see it go face first into the pillow, almost like it's going to sleep, like you're going into a dream state, and then the rest of the movie starts. It's
All right, so from now on, if we cover any of these, I just got to watch it once or twice.
I really think in most cases, this one in particular, I mean, most fan-wise, this is generally agreed upon to be maybe the masterpiece. Some people will fight you and say Blue Velvet, maybe a little bit, give it the edge. Some people will just say no, the entirety of Twin Peaks. But it's like, if you got to pick a movie, though, most people are either like Eraserhead, Mulholland, or Blue Velvet.
Not a lot of Dune fans?
No, not a lot. It has its defenders. I love them all, but I'm a Mulholland guy. This was an early one that got me into him, and we didn't even really talk about any of the. I mean, we got plenty of other stuff to talk about, but we didn't really talk about any of the actual eroticism in this. I personally think the lesbian sex scene in here / lovemaking scene, really, because it is good. It is real. It's a doomed love story at the end of the day. This one like really nails that, and then like it goes to some very dark places. But yeah, what did you think of the actual eroticism? Because truth be told, like the first reasons this was on like Stars or something when we were younger, and I was just like, oh, Naomi Watts, like she's attractive, and I was like, oh, there's like this is rated R for nudity or whatever. And then would like try and wait for that sequence, and not watching the movie with any like, I don't even think I knew who Lynch was
right
at that point. I maybe had seen like Elephant Man like on Turner Classic or something, but didn't know who Lynch was.
Right.
But yeah, Mulholland was very early on in my discovery of him. But yeah,
the first one. There's a lot to be, and I think that's the big difference if we're going to argue about. Color of Night is just like, we're fucking. It's over the top. You hear that score change? We're doing this.
Right.
Very almost softcore, but not really. This is like the subtlety of it, of like where it begins and how things move along are probably the best parts of it. That just like they've gone out, they've had a long day. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have made you sleep on the couch. It's okay, just hop in here and get a good night's sleep. Oh, okay. And then just bam, she's naked. And you're like, wait a minute.
And their day, to be specific, she's gone on her audition, which she fucking crushed, by the way. Like the best acting any of these people in this room have ever seen or will ever see.
Mm-hmm.
She gets introduced to Adam Kesher, or she's about to be.
Right.
But she gets pulled away because, hey, I had plans with Rita. We got to go check out Diane Selwyn's place.
Right.
This sequence. Fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
Again, broad daylight. Now, when they get into this apartment, it's dank as shit. And it's, like, creepy and it's got vibes. But the bulk of this action, like, is all in broad daylight in this apartment. The way he shoots this apartment complex, though, in the like kind of tree covered areas and pathways is so I'm just, but it's everything working together. It's the soundscape, it's the like color correct, the way it was shot. What I'm constantly amazed about is, again, I've seen this movie like upwards of 20 times. I still I know how the shots are going to play out. I know where the beats are, and I just can't, I'm still right back in the same place every time I watch it. I think that's why it's stuck with me for so long. But yeah, so they go in, they discover this horrible looking body, but they're not supposed to be there, so they bail out. And there's the whole tension of like the neighbor who's like, oh, I'll come over there with you. And it's like, oh, okay. And then she gets called away, but she's come back, and you're just like, oh my god, dude, like fucking get out of there.
Yeah.
In the same way that in a much more comical way earlier with the hitman, you're like, dude, get out of there. Like, what
leave.
Are you doing?
Fucking
Something
leave.
bit me. Something bit me. I love when he's just like, hey man, she's hurt real bad. You gotta come in here, man. I can't do this by myself. Like, oh. Great sequence.
I love that it's all because he's trying to stage him as like, oh, he shot him.
Yeah. The perfectly preserved like string of hair of where it went through. I don't know if you caught that detail.
Yeah.
It reminds me, you've seen Lost Highway, right?
No.
Oh, okay.
Not enough to be able to.
There's an insane death towards the end of Lost Highway, which is just like one of the most like gruesome but like artistic looking things you've ever seen, where basically a guy gets his forehead bifurcated by a glass table. But this way, not this way. This way.
Ooh.
You gotta see it. I've never seen anything like it. Anyways, that shot reminds me of that. So, anyways, she had her audition. They go to Diane's. Creepy shit. She's dead. They don't quite know what to make of it, but they're bonded together at this point. Their relationship's growing. So they have some sex, basically. And it's very tasteful.
Yeah.
Considering. But it is erotic.
Yeah.
I think, again, the score is going a long way here as well. And unfortunately, it's very short-lived, because as they're laying there, post-coitus, she starts saying silencio in her sleep. And you're like, what the fuck is going on, right? And you're like, okay, this is unsettling. She sounds like she has a different accent almost now. Like, who is this person? Like, what the hell's going on? And they disguise her initially. They're like, oh yeah, we've got to hide your identity because people might be looking for you. So we'll make you look kind of like me, but not really.
Right.
Almost like you're a weird imitation of me. Almost like you're putting on a character. Just like there's all these echoes of acting and performance, and like people becoming different people,
right?
Quite literally and figuratively. So they head out to Club Silencio. Another one. The intro shot to this. The friggin' parking lot alleyway with no cars in it and just like paper, and it's bathed in blue light, and it's just ominous as fuck, and you're like, why the hell would you ever go in here? What are we doing here right now? I don't want to go. I don't want to see what's in here. I don't want to go.
Not at all.
I don't want to go in. And I think when you do go in, you're like, oh, this No I Banda guy's pretty intense, but this isn't quite as dark as I saw it. Now, when they first enter, did you see who's on the right here when they're coming down the aisle? Two ladies you might recognize. Ronette Pulaski.
Really?
And Laura Palmer.
Really?
Sitting right next to each other.
Holy
It's
fucking
not
shit.
even hidden. Now, I had to have this pointed out for me. I never noticed it in all these other times. I had heard about it in the interim before I watched it this time. Forgot to look for them. We finished the whole movie. And then I was like, oh yeah, I was supposed to fucking look for that this time. So, of course, there's no chapter breaks on any David Lynch movie.
Yeah, you got to watch it all as one.
So I, of course, I'm on there like furiously, like fast forwarding to get to there. But I found the shot, and it is not like subtle at all if you're looking for it, which, of course, the first time you wouldn't be because you're following them. You're not looking at the peripheral. But seated in that audience is Laura Palmer and Ronette Pulaski.
Wow.
And you're like, it's gotta be all connected, right? Like, come on. Which, if you want to take it there, Janie E in The Return, like, maybe Diane, like, she didn't end up killing herself, or Betty, but she did kind of burn out, and she moved to Vegas instead and married this
Dougie?
Insurance guy, married Dougie.
Yeah. That dude totally works.
And she's also related to that Diane. Laura Dern's Diane from the Twin Peaks universe, who is the sister, right? Stepsister?
Yeah.
She's sisters with Diane, and Janie E are siblings. I know, dude. It's just... When you start forming it all together, it's like Mulholland is kind of like the missing... It's like the what could have been, which is why his new one for Netflix, which is supposedly titled Wisteria. That's the working title. But we're pretty sure Kyle MacLachlan's involved.
Good.
Almost positive. There's been some other teasers as well from people in the Twin Peaks verse, but part of me desperately hopes that it is Mulholland Drive, the TV show, and theoretically Richard and Linda, any of the other alt versions of people that we've seen in the Twin Peaks verse, especially now that we've established that, like, Cooper has essentially been 4 different principal characters. Like, why not have a whole new show that's not called Twin Peaks that has like still has Kyle MacLachlan and can somehow connect to all of this. But what I really hope the new thing is a return to the Mulholland Drive verse. I want him to go to L.A. exclusively because we didn't get any L.A. in Twin Peaks. The Return.
Yeah, we didn't. You're right.
Yeah, no, we were New York, Buckhorn,
yeah.
Twin Peaks,
Vegas,
and was it Argentina? Very briefly,
yeah.
To get like shots of whatever the hell was going on with the Philip Jeffries related stuff. I don't know where all that was. God, I need to go back. We've done it. Veronica and I've gone through 3 times now, but we do it. It's kind of like a tradition now. We do it pretty much once a year, so we might squeeze it in. So Club Silencio. You get the whole, which seemed like that was kind of your read on it initially, right?
What?
The whole like, no eye banda. This has all been a recording.
Yeah.
But I think that's again just kind of an echo of like the nature of performance and like these layers of
yeah,
reality.
you know what I'm saying.
And,
That's like
nothing
nothing that you've seen in this movie. It's not real.
Yeah, it's basically telling you like, and that's when the reality is firmly starting to break for them.
Right. Yeah. No.
In that
Again,
moment.
once you just established for me that what the blue box was, it's all fallen into place, and I get it. I do want to watch it again just to fill in the gaps myself because I know there's things I missed already. But like,
and we've pretty much covered where we end at. So there, I mean, there's the super dark section, of course, of like when you do get the flip and you see what's become of their relationship.
Right.
The sad masturbation scene. You get the dinner scene with
wild.
Like again, all of this stuff. The range of performance from where we start with Naomi Watts to where she ends up. This is one of those showcases where I'm just like, she's literally showing you everything, like every single human emotion, every different possible version of a line reading you could ever want. Like, what a fantastic showcase for an actor. And she talks about, in some of the behind the scenes stuff, of just like, there was times when she thought, am I giving the worst performance of all time? Like, is this terrible? Or is this exactly what he wants and what he needs in the moment? And like she said, she just kind of had to, at a certain point, she just trusted him that like he was not going to make me look stupid. It was all going to like come together and make sense. And it's like, again, it feels like you pretty much got that from one viewing, but her performance just like ages like a fine wine. Every time I go back to it, it's just, it's a goddamn shame she didn't get Best Actress. And a shame that this was not nominated for Best Picture, and a shame that he didn't win Best Director. I absolutely love it. Again, so rewatchable for me, and I totally get why some people would not want to like go back to this with any kind of regularity, because it's dark and it's twisted, and it's like it's an intense viewing experience for portions of it. But I just love it. It's a great way to make a movie that you want to watch over and over again. Just make a movie with no bad scenes.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing to skip over in here. Every time something comes up, it's like, oh shit, yeah, we're about to get to this. Like that's how it is every time watching it.
And make it with no chapters, and that'll be another reason
force
why you
people
can
to do it.
Yeah.
I don't know about you. 2 hours and 27 minutes doesn't feel like it to me. This is one of those that you get lost in it, and there's times where I would say maybe it feels even longer than that. But I am always remarkably shocked how quickly we get to Silencio, which is kind of when everything. That's the start of the third act, essentially.
Yeah, that's where everything turns.
So, yeah, again, Color of Night was 220, the director's cut, and I agree. If we're arguing coherence, maybe Mulholland's not the one to bring up, but for what is communicated and the sheer economy of like storytelling across that, and the actual pacing of like. I'm never bored by Mulholland. There, even in his slow, methodical dialogue scenes, he's just like drawing you in the whole time. All right. Anyways, I loved revisiting it. I'm glad I could at least make you dip your toe in for the first time. I hope you will check it out again.
Yeah, no, I've got your DVD. I'll watch it again.
And I definitely think I will incorporate some more Lynch into 2x2 at some point, because who knows when we're ever going to get to Bay of Lynch. So why not? We'll just start throwing them in here.
Yeah.
It's all good. Okay. We will be back very, very soon with basically a giant recap of the last month of our watching. Hopefully Gavin will have seen Candyman by then. Anyways, we're going to do some recent recap, and then we are basically going to go in the studio and start banking up October content, because it's just 1 month away.
But we will give you our 2x2 for the month of September when we see you again in September.
Yes.
So.
We don't know what that's going to be or what the theme is going to be. If we decide on it and do a vote, that will be on Instagram at the ArkofE Network. You can also follow us on Twitter at the ArkofE. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, etc., email us, thearkofe@gmail.com. Oh, and we do have a Facebook as well, which Gavin, I think, still has access
Sometimes
to.
makes posts on, but mostly doesn't.
Yeah. So you can check us out there. Again, one last shameless plug for myself. My new EP, Builder EP, is available on all your major music platforms, except for Tidal. What's up with that, Jay-Z? I'd like to know. I have a personal complaint. I don't know why I can't be on your service. Whatever. We're everywhere else that counts. And yeah, please go check it out. That I perform under the name Nark. That's lowercase n, capital A-R-K. And go give it a shot if you enjoy electronic music, ambient music, etc. Anything else for this?
No, that's
enjoyed it. Again, quite the gamut of quality to me on this episode. And I'm glad through just a little bit of convo, it seems like you actually did enjoy Mulholland.
No, I did. That's the thing. I did. I'm just in the moment. I'm just like, what the fuck do I? What am I doing?
You just gotta give yourself over to it, man.
I
tell you, it's like I haven't. The only reason I'm talking to you like this with some of this stuff is literally, but just because I've seen it so many times, and every time I kind of hone in on my theory. But that's the beauty of it, baby. Is there? You don't have to have one. You just let it wash over you. There doesn't have to be some grand answer. It doesn't all have to connect. It's just the vibe and the mood that you're feeling at the time, man. It's one of the moodiest movies fucking ever, right? I mean,
yeah, I could see that. Coming from not knowing so much and having to have it explained. I don't know if watching it without any sort of context or knowing any sort, because if you'd have told me like, yeah, this is basically Twin Peaks that never got made.
See, and that's I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to like put you too far in that direction, but I also was kind of like, well, he'll realize that like there's a lot of Twin Peaks-ish vibes.
I got that, yeah. But I'm just like, if I knew that that's where it was headed, I wouldn't have asked the question of, oh, he just made this because they canceled the show on him without letting him finish back in the 90s. So this is his way of getting back at everybody. But knowing that like this was a gestating thing that took place over several years and this is what he wanted to do in the backstory, that's perfectly fine. And it makes sense, and it makes, I've said it plenty of times before. You know this. The making and the backstory and how something came together is just as equally important for me when it comes to appreciating a movie that I'm going to talk about.
I definitely want you to see the behind the scenes that's on this Criterion Blu-ray, which is literally just like on-set footage of him directing. Everybody looks like they're having the best time.
Yeah, probably.
And you're just like, it's so weird that like this is the vibe on set and this is the finished product. Like everybody's smiling and happy and just like, we love making movies. And he's chipper as fuck and like smiling as they're performing and shit. And then you're just like, you watch the movies and you're like, oh my god, dude.
Yeah,
where does this come from?
Well, it's probably because they don't show you when they're like, so it's cut and everybody looks at you, they're like, yeah, they won't know about this one, will they? Nobody will fucking get this, will they? Click. All right, cut it. Let's do this next scene that nobody will fucking understand. It's there's
a great story, and this is one I'll leave you with. I think it's a great metaphor for our whole conversation, actually. So Justin Theroux meets him for the first time on this movie, obviously, and they work together again on Inland Empire. I don't know if I mentioned that.
Yeah.
So Justin Theroux's looking at the script, and he's reading through there, and he's like, so David, this scene with the cowboy, he says, if I do good, I'll see him one more time. And if I do bad, I'll see him 2 more times. David, is there another scene with me and the cowboy? I mean, is Kesher gonna meet the cowboy again? And David Lynch says to him, "Oh, Justin, I don't know. We're gonna find out together."
Oh my God!
I think that's it right there, man. He's just figuring it out as he goes too. There's an outline, a blueprint. There's visions in his head, but that's one of the other amazing things I see anytime I see him like direct. I'm like, some of this stuff is off the cuff. You'll see like in Twin Peaks: The Return, and he's like, "Oh, let's try this setup over here. Let me try this different angle. Let me give you this different line reading." Like, you're like, holy shit, dude! Like, it is. He creates a canvas, and then the playing around, the different takes. That's all the different brush strokes, but sometimes it's multiple layers that go on there and everything. But he just.
And
he's
that's
a fucking
entertainment.
artist, man. He's just a fucking artist, man. I love him to death. Literally, nobody else like that man on the planet. Not even close.
Agreed.
So, until next time, where we'll be back with a long overdue what we've been watching.
Indeed.
And at the end of that, we will let you know what our next 2x2 is going to be for September. And then we will start teasing October 2021, and we had quite the bummer October 2020 last year, as you may remember.
That is not going to happen
and
again.
We
this
refuse to let that happen this year, so we will be doing our darndest to get you some awesome horror-related content for the month. But until next time, I have been Noah.
And I have been Gavin.
And we've been the Blanchard Brothers. Thanks for listening.
Silencio.
No, I Panther. This is all a recording. This is the girl.
What?
This is the girl. I just love that it's Dan Hedaya, who in my head is like, dude, it's fucking Dan Hedaya. But like he comes in to say like 3 lines. Like, this is the girl. This is the girl. He screams. Or they bring the espresso, but they didn't bring his order, and he just screams, "Coffee!"
Napkin.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what? Napkin.
Just
he knows it's gonna be shit.
I didn't know this until watching it this time. That is Angelo Badalamenti.
Me neither.
Yeah.
I did.
The
Until
composer
you just
of
said
all-
it.
No, dude, I was literally like, I did not know that until
Until you literally said it to me now.
That's what I'm saying, dude. But we're talking like 20 plus times. I'm still finding